Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
And we're up for your first ever podcast, Gina Carano.
Oh my goodness. What if I don't have anything to say?
You do, I guarantee you do. How did you avoid doing podcasts for this long?
Just saying no.
Really?
I just tell people I'm kind of just don't know what's ever going to come out of my mouth. So it's going to get, I have no idea what we're going to talk about today.
Well, that's good. It's always better that way. I mean, we could talk about anything. We could talk about, well, there was a moment where you were going to come back. You're the OG.
Oh, well, I mean, gosh, there was.
No, you're the OG.
Thank you.
In terms of women's MMA, who the fuck is more OG than you?
I
You're the
mean,
original star.
Well, like, not MMA, but like Lucia Riker.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Muay Thai, yeah, and in boxing, yeah, and then there's Christy Martin and
Yeah.
you know a lot of other folks.
And then there
yeah.
was like the Debbie Purcells and Aaron.
And Wolf.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of like women combat sports athletes, but in terms of MMA, you're the OG.
Well, I appreciate that coming from you. That means a lot. I
What
always
was it like back then? Because like you were the OG when it was weird to be fighting, and it was weird to be fighting as a woman.
yeah. It was just you would go into the gym and it was just well, we started at Master Toddy's, so there was a couple girls there that really liked to fight, but they liked to more look good and the attention that fighting came from.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't all about like the fight. So
There's a lot of that now, right?
now it's like that, but it was like that then too. I don't know, a lot of like what's her name, Erin, God, is Debbie Purcell and Erin something,
And Tohill.
Tohill.
Yes.
So they were actually the people I would say that started way before.
Yeah, Erin
before
was.
us.
She's been around a long time.
And
She was
Cyborg
very
was
good.
doing it
Yep.
as well.
Mhm.
So
Tara LaRosa.
Tara LaRosa.
Old school.
Yeah, I know. No,
The early days.
we're old.
Yeah, we were old. But the early days were interesting because, like, you know, there was a lot of people disparaging women fighting,
Yeah.
you know, including Dana White.
Yeah,
know?
including most of the guys I trained with, which I love them. But, you know, even Mark Beecher, he was like, no, get out of here. I'm not going to train any women. Okay, fine, I'll train you, Gina. It'll be cool. But and now that's all he does, you know. Even, let's say the Diaz boys. Like, I remember fighting on the same card as Nick Diaz. And he was sitting next to me. And, of course, I was just nervous because I absolutely adored him. Still do. I think he's amazing. I just haven't seen him in, like, a decade. But he was like, you know, we're sitting there before our fight having our post, you know, weigh-in dinner. And he was like, you know, I got to tell you, I don't really like women fighting. He didn't obviously say it like that. He's like, you know, I don't like what you do. I don't like women fighting. And I was like, that's okay. You know, maybe you're just a little old-fashioned. And I was like, do you think my dad likes this? Do you think anybody in my family likes me fighting? And he was like, no, old-fashioned. Okay, so I'm just old-fashioned? I'm like, yeah, you just might be a little old-fashioned. And then he was like pulling out my chair and opening my door.
He took it to the next level.
Yeah, he was like so sweet. I was like, he just needed to be told it's okay. You don't have to like it. You know, it's old-fashioned. So.
Yeah, some people get disturbed watching women get bloodied up. That's a big one for some folks.
Yeah, was it a thing for you?
It feels different. Obviously, I'm a big fan of women fighting. But when I watch a big cut on a woman, it feels different. Like if I like Yuri Prohaska in that fight with Glover Teixeira had this giant cut over his eyebrow. It's a massive cut. But it didn't bother me. But if that was you, if that was it was a woman, it was, you know, Valentina Shevchenko or something like that, I'd be like, Jesus, that's a
Yeah.
big cut.
And honestly, in my perspective, that's sweet. You know,
Wow.
that's nice.
That's nice. You don't like to see women get cut up.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice. I don't know why women or anybody is trying to get rid of that.
Well, I get it. But I mean, look, if you're going to land elbows, it is a part of the sport. You're going to get cut up. It's like people are going to get cut.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game. But you know, if you want to say that, like, here's a good example, like the last UFC where it was Zhang Weili versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and then Valentina Shevchenko versus Jesus Christ, why am I not remembering her name?
Is it the Chinese girl that?
No. Valentina Shevchenko had a really tough fight. Talia Santos. which was an amazing fight, split decision, which could have gone either way. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, this card sucks." I'm like, because of those two fights? Like, you think the card sucks because two like super ultra competitive women fights that were insane, and one of them was a spinning back fist knockout? Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, right. Like I don't understand where people get off on the internet judging any, like when I'm in a building or at a fight when people are booing, it boils my blood.
Yeah.
It's like, you get in there and do that, you know? Until you've done that, then you can, talk about it.
It's just like, do you boo like that at baseball? Because baseball at its most exciting is not as exciting as two people clinching.
Yeah, maybe the fight fans just need to like get a couple more, I don't know, hot dogs or beers and just sit back and enjoy a little bit.
Well, it's casuals, unfortunately, and it's a lot of people that don't appreciate what's going on or how hard it is. Look, I can understand some fights where people get bored and they boo, especially in comparison to some other fights.
I'm never gonna be the one booing.
I wouldn't boo either, but there's some times where it's just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
And you're at all of them. So.
I'm out of a lot of them. This
what
past one was the first one I did.
There? Like with like the, when they're just, nobody's trying to even like they're just stuttering and in front of each other.
Like the Rose Namajunas fight, like that last fight.
Yeah.
That
I love her, by
the
way.
I do too. Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Well, I love Carla Esparza too. I don't get it. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Pat Barry. I love him, but he was saying something different than the rest of the corner was saying. It's like
kind of when you go into spar and then you just don't really want to be there or something, and you're not trying to. I don't know. It just isn't flowing. The chemistry's off or something.
I think maybe the game plan was make Carla frustrated and take big risks because she has to win, right? She has to go after Rose to win. But there was like, by the time we were in like round 3, I was having this conversation with Cormier. I was like, who fucking knows who won? Who knows who's winning this? Because nothing's happening. Like, it's when nothing's happening. This is my number one problem with scoring. The way we have scoring with MMA, that could, either one of those rounds could be a 10-9 round or a round where someone beats someone pretty cleanly and lands a lot of shots. Could also be a 10-9 round. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That's great. That's a flaw in the scoring system.
Time to update the program.
Yeah, we need a better system. We don't need boxing system. We need something that it's like, it shouldn't have anything to do with 10-9. There should be a bunch of factors like volume, the amount of strikes, submissions, takedowns,
damage,
all the damage, all that shit added up, and it should be a totally different. I mean, we should have scores like 57, 96 for one round, 120 for another round, like that kind of shit.
Yeah,
because that's more indicative of what's actually happening in a fight than 10-9.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's how it should be.
So make it happen. How do we make that happen?
Jesus Christ, I don't know. I've been preaching this for years, and everyone's like, "Bro, they already have fixed the system, bro. You don't understand the system." Like, I understand the system as it stands. What I'm saying is the system as it stands fucking sucks.
Yeah, we can say that like over a multitude of subjects as well. We need to get better systems.
Yeah, not just for MMA, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting though, like for you to watch these women become superstars now. Like when you watch Ronda, because Ronda was you, and then it was Ronda, and you most certainly paved the way for someone like Ronda. Yeah. Like, what was that like?
I don't know. For me, at the time, it was just, okay, so I was going to a college for psychology, and I'd show up to, the college classes in full-on pajamas. I didn't care. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't want to be there. I felt like this is the thing you do after high school, right? You go to college, and I don't really think that it did me any favors because I'm a type of person that, like idle hands. If I'm not interested in doing this, then I'll get into trouble. And so then we started getting into trouble. And I guess what happened was Kevin Ross, who you had on your show, and I've known him for 21 years now. We're like that couple that's always on and off, and everybody's like, my family just stopped asking. They're like, are you together now this Christmas? So he decided one night he'd always wanted to do mixed martial arts, and he always loved Bruce Lee. And we were drinking, of course, these 40 ounces of Old English, which I don't know if you tried one
Oh,
lately.
yeah. Old English makes you reckless.
And it's just like this much of it hurts.
Yeah.
We used to drink full. We used to try to go. I used to get to like a 1.5.
That is strong stuff.
Yeah, I tried it, and I was like, I cannot believe I used to drink this poison. But his dad had asked him, well, I'll sponsor you for your first couple lessons if you promise me to put that down. And that night, he put it down, and he went and started training with a guy called Master Toddy. He's this Thai man who, of course, came from Thailand, but he went over to the UK, taught over there, and then he came to the States and, taught people like Angela Parr and John Wayne Parr, who came before me as well, Kit Cope and all of them. So Kevin walked into the right gym and learned Muay Thai from the very authentic Thai style. And then I would go in there and Master Chan, who I think is still in Las Vegas, I would walk in and I'm still drinking and partying and everything. He was like, "Oh, baby, you're fat. You need to lose weight." And I was like, no, that didn't come from my dad. That came from this Thai man that has nothing to gain in my life but to be like, hey, you need to work out. And so I immediately signed up for 20 lessons with him. And
So he fat shamed you into training.
yeah. I don't know if you know this. Thais are really good at that. And
Are they really?
Yeah, I probably need Master Chan back in my life right now. If I'm being really honest, like he's probably like, "Oh, baby, get back into training."
They're so friendly, though. I wouldn't think that Thai people would be that.
Have you been to Thailand?
Yes, I enjoyed it over there.
They're always like, like the first 2 weeks of training sucks so bad because they're like, "Oh, too big. You need to go down." And I'm like, I usually lose about like 20 pounds the first 2 weeks just because I'm like, shit, this fat shaming just sucks. But I don't mind. I grew up in my family where like I walked in and, my grandmama Maxine, she'd be like, "Honey, no, you can't look like that on TV. You have to, because she comes from the classical days. She's like, no, you need to, get in the gym and make sure that your face is good and da da da." So my family doesn't pull any punches either, and I'm okay with that. Like, I think it's people around you telling you the truth, trying to make you better in life. Which is my entire family, every single one of them. Like,
Yeah, it's a weird time today where you're not supposed to do that anymore. They want
nobody
you
to stop around me.
They want you to preserve people's feelings now, but there's like fat shaming only works if you feel bad. Like
if you feel bad, if you do it, or
if the person feels bad, if it like you can't fat shame me.
yeah,
I'd be like, "Oh, I'm fat. Okay,
yeah,
it's not gonna work."
Yeah.
Like, but if you have an issue with your weight and someone tries to fat shame you, then it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, like, it's like not a great feeling, but it is a necessary. Somebody cares about you when they're like, hey, be like, okay, hey, you're doing this in your life and it's probably not benefiting you. Like, how can I help you? And in my family, the Italian part of my family, is just like, it's funny because you walk into like Thanksgiving, they're like, "Okay, you're 5 pounds up. Way to go. You're gonna stay away from the mushroom raviolis this time." And I'm like, "Why do you have 4 different types of bread on the table? This is your fault."
Well, people do it because they care about you sometimes, but sometimes they do it just because it's a place to be cruel.
Well, I don't care about those people.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's the internet.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's the entire Twitter. Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of it. It's super unhealthy for them too. They don't even realize it. They're spitting out all this like emotional poison. They're doing it all day long. It's like that's not good. It's not good for you either. You can't feel good about yourself. You're just being mean to people all day.
Yeah, but that says more about them than it does about you.
Yeah, it does. And look, people talk like that all the time. The difference is it seems different when it's written down. Mm-hmm. Like if you just had people alone in a barbershop, they would just be talking shit and insulting people.
Yes, which is great.
But now it's written down.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Louis C.K. said that to me once. And when he said it, I was like, oh, now I thought about it differently. He goes, it's just talk.
Yeah.
Like people always talk like that. But now it's written down. It looks different when you read it.
And it's so not how people really are in person. Like, I just did a Dallas Fan Expo for 3 days, and there was not one person in that whole expo that said one thing negative, hateful. There was
Isn't
no.
that weird?
Yeah, and I'm like,
Meet people in real life, they're almost always nice.
but they're so I feel like people are so beaten down right now from the internet, from thinking that this is how people are,
Yeah.
that they're just beaten down, and then they get out, and I'm just hugging as many people as possible. I'm shaking their hands. I wish I had more time than that for, those couple 3 minutes with them, because I'm not necessarily an extrovert. It's not like I want to be out there like and talking to a bunch of people, but I feel like that's what people need right now, and I love doing it. So I've got like 4 more fan expos this year that they're tiring, and you have to keep your energy up for each different person. But I just think out of all the years I'm going to do this, it's going to be this year, so I can look people in the face and let them know that this isn't real life over here on the internet. This is real life.
Yeah. For fighters, it's particularly hard, I think, because fighting is such an emotional endeavor. There's so much of who you expose your soul to people.
Yeah.
They see you quit, or they see you succeed when you could have quit.
Yeah.
They see you, how hard you train. They see how well you deal with the pressure of the big moment of a huge fight. It is so emotional.
Yeah.
So when people attack fighters, and a lot of these people are unaccomplished, uneducated, uncaring, they don't understand what they're doing with their words when they're using them. They just blah.
Yeah.
It's just like verbal diarrhea on Twitter, and they're doing it to try to be insulting and mean. And I watch fighters go back and forth with them, and I always tell them, hey man, don't read that shit.
Yeah.
Don't read that shit, and definitely don't fucking respond.
Yeah, I learned that a little bit late. Don't respond.
Yeah, don't go back and forth with people. It's bad for you.
Although, so you're not on Twitter very much, are you?
I post and ghost. Mm-hmm. I post and I get the fuck out of there. I
Smart.
don't read anything. I read Twitter, but I read like other stuff.
But you also have this platform where you can have people be drawn to and to hear your actual voice, which is
that
really
helps
nice.
a lot.
Yeah,
that helps a lot, because that's the real you versus like caricature, like the characterizations. Caricatures. They'll make a version of you that's not real, and then they'll attack that version. And people love to do that. They love to take things out of context. They love to pretend you're someone you're not.
I have Patricia Arquette. You know who that is?
Sure.
She's coming at me on Twitter right now.
She is? Yes. For what? The actress?
Yes. Who I absolutely look up to. She did a recent film, I think it was on Apple, called Severance, which is the microchip in the brain. Really cool series. And of course, True Romance was one of my favorite movies to this day. And she's coming after me. So I had posted an article about if there's any time to stand up, it's right now. If there's any time to get canceled for something or stand up or have there be some sort of controversy, it's like right now standing up for our constitutional rights. I feel like that's a good time to stand.
Yeah.
And she got on there and said, she said, they wouldn't know about their constitutional rights or something if it slapped them or smacked them in the face. And I was like, what? And so I responded to it, and I said, they, meaning, are you saying they are stupid? Are you calling half or more than half the country stupid? They don't know about their constitutional rights? Because all you read right here is Fox News. And then she went into this massive spiel about like the January 6th and everything, which had nothing to do with the article.
What was the article about?
It was just about me talking about the cancel culture and how, the mob came after me, and it had nothing to do about the election or nothing to do about January 6th.
How did constitutional rights get factored into that?
Just how I've been kind of very, I guess, anti-lockdown, anti-forcing people to vaccinate, forcing people to mask. I've been very vocal about that. I guess vocal by being on Twitter and sharing quotes and things like that. Just, I feel like, we've lost a lot of our rights by this fear-mongering and overreach of government. So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, no, I think you're right about that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I think it's an important thing to say.
And I was saying it early, so I was saying it.
You were saying it boldly.
Early.
You were saying it when people were scared.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that happened, is that everybody got separated from everybody. It was an incredibly anxious time. Everybody was, so many people are so filled with anxiety already.
Yeah.
Right? And then you take something like a deadly disease where you have to be locked in your house, and then they're going to keep you from working. So a lot of people are in full panic because they're going to lose their business. Like, how many people are out there check to check? Most of America. And then all of a sudden you can't go to work. And you don't know what to do, and then something comes along, and it's a vaccine, and this vaccine, if you take it, they'll let you go back to work, and we're going to get, and you better fucking take it, and everybody gets crazy, but fucking take it.
Yeah.
We need to get back to work, we need to get back. No critical thinking about, hey, are we sure that this is the only way to do this? Hey, is this a one-size-fits-all strategy for everybody, and when have we ever employed one of those? Like, hey, what's the actual scientific data on this medicine? Do you show long-term study? Do you have any long-term studies?
Yeah.
No, you don't. When do you want to
No,
release
you
this
don't.
stuff?
No,
you
you
want to
don't.
release the studies in 70 years? What
Yeah.
the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about? You want to release all the results after everyone's dead?
Yeah.
Like,
And,
that seems a little suspicious.
what I think a lot of us feel, I don't know if you feel the same, but for me, I had two grandfathers start a business from scratch, and made pretty good names for themselves. And I've seen big businesses run up close and personal. I find it really hard to believe that the people that shut us down, some of the most intelligent people, far more intelligent than I could ever imagine, didn't know by taking people's jobs away from them, taking their consistency, taking their livelihoods, and saying, okay, we're going to pay you and keep you home, wasn't going to affect people's addictions, wasn't going to affect people's suicides, purpose, because I'm my best self when I'm working. When I'm working,
Most people are.
my diet is under control. I'm working out. I have constant interaction with people. You're not like partying all the time. It's just structured, and some of us need structure. Most of us do. I think it's probably a very small amount of people that can do jobs and like right now, what I'm doing is I have to provide my own work, but I've also now got 30 years of like learning how to do this now. But when you take like a bus driver, when you take somebody who's been doing a job for 25 years, and you take that away from them and you put them at home, and now all of a sudden they're faced with their families and they're faced with themselves, and it's like a responsibility that you just took away their structure.
Yeah.
So I just really find it hard to believe that this wasn't on purpose.
I don't think it was on purpose. I think you're dealing with Monday morning quarterbacking, and I think people are looking at it and going, how'd they not know this and how'd they not know that?
What do you mean by Monday morning quarterbacking?
Like pretending you would have done things differently because you would have been smarter on Sunday. Like you would have seen it coming and you would have done this, you done. I think you're giving these people way too much credit. Smart people don't want to be in government. Smart people want to be CEOs of giant companies and make shitloads of cash.
Yeah.
Corrupt people who use government to funnel money into their own accounts, whether it's through these giant fees they get paid in these speaking engagements, or whether it's through insider trading because they know about laws and bills that are going to be passed is going to affect the stock market, and so they get in early. We know about these people.
But like Nancy Pelosi.
Exactly.
Yeah, and all of
we
them.
talk about her
Yes.
all the time on this podcast.
Oh my
How
gosh.
crazy that she's the greatest investor of all time. Do you know that she's better than George Soros and Warren Buffett?
And nobody can talk about this? No, I mean, how is this not a bigger deal?
It's
somebody who's-
corruption.
Yeah.
It's sanctified corruption.
Yeah.
Sanctioned corruption.
I just really do feel. I feel like this wasn't.
I don't think they knew.
I
I
do.
think they were in a panic, and I think they shut everyone down, and I think they like controlling people and telling people what to do, and they didn't want to give up control. But I think some states were like, fuck that, get back to work. We need to live. We need to give people the freedom. And this is why people celebrated Ron DeSantis in Florida. This is why people celebrated Greg Abbott in Texas. That's why I moved here. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. Like, this is a pandemic, right? But it's not a pandemic like fucking smallpox. This is a different thing. This is not the Spanish flu. It's going to kill 50 fucking million people in this country.
I know. So when I was thinking about pandemic, right, I'd just gotten wrapped on Mandalorian season 2. Rewrapped like 4 days before they decided to lock everybody down. And by the way, I was a complete lunatic. Like, I was like, a pandemic. I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to get boils on their skin and their arms are going to start falling off, or like they're going to, like.
People were worried.
Like, my idea of what pandemic meant was so much different than what it ended up being.
Because everybody's idea was
Yeah.
different. Look, when people first started, first of all, there was a lot of things that happened early on. One of the things, they put people on ventilators very early. Ventilators, 80% of the people that put on ventilators died.
Yeah.
And my friend who's a doctor said a lot of those people were survived.
Right. So it's
a lot
like,
of them.
It became like a death sentence to go into the hospital.
In that, but that's
Moment.
also Monday morning quarterbacking, because they thought these people's respiratory systems were going to shut down. No one knew how bad it was in the early days.
But the people,
it took a
they were
long
silencing
time.
people.
I know they were silencing people because there's so many voices.
But they were silencing anybody that was saying, "Hey, this medication could be better." And they're still silencing people. That's why it feels so on purpose. It's like the silencing coupled with like the obvious like benefits that some of them are, they're succeeding in all of what they're doing. Like, how many government officials became millionaires here, billionaires? I just feel like,
I don't know how many government officials became billionaires, but a lot of humans that were connected to the government and connected to the decisions that were made did become billionaires.
Well, everybody's husbands that works for them.
Well, it's also just like people, like a lot of people that were working in these pharmaceutical companies that produce these vaccines. They made enormous amounts of profit, and they were protected. This is the most important part. They were protected from liability, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Like but that's the only way they were willing to do this, the way they did it.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad that I don't agree with you on everything, because I do feel like it was so on purpose.
I don't think it's on purpose. I don't think they would release a virus that kills millions of people on purpose. I don't think that they would crush the economy on purpose. I think there was a lot of poor decision making that was done. First of all, a lot of it was done with the idea that it has to seem like you're doing something because you are in government and you are a person that's in charge.
I hope you're right.
I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. I
Okay.
think there's a lot of people that get all tinfoily hatty on that kind of shit.
Well, underneath here, I just don't see. I just don't see how these intelligent people, I just don't see how they didn't know that this was going to happen. I just don't see how they didn't know there was going to be a mental health crisis.
I don't think they're that intelligent, and I don't think they thought it was going to last this long. I don't think they thought it was 2 weeks to stop the spread.
It does completely
change. 2 weeks
change.
to flatten the curve. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it ever going to be just 2 weeks?
If everybody stayed home and did absolutely nothing for 2 weeks, it probably could have been. Lorenzo Fertitta was the first person, or it's Frank. Frank Fertitta was the first person to suggest that. You know what he said? He said, listen, let's shut the fucking country down for 1 month. Nobody does anything for 1 month. He goes, let's just pull the fucking Band-Aid off. And he was right, if everybody really did that. The problem is nobody does that. You go over to your friend's house, you start drinking, you're hanging out. One buddy likes to go to the store. He goes to the store, he talks to the grocer. The grocer's got COVID. You come home, you give it to grandma. Grandma dies. It's like, that's the reality of people. They go around, they do different things, and that's why people are like, wear a mask, stay at home. They're screaming like you're going to stop this. But you got to look at humans for what they actually are. We are these animals that like to be around each other. We're very tribal. We need each other's company, and we go fucking crazy when we don't have each other's company.
Well, I thought when they had the lockdowns, I thought there was going to be riots on the street just because of the lockdowns. I thought there was going to be like people around the street like, no, you can't lock us down. I thought just because, I guess,
because if the world was like you.
Yeah.
You'd be like, fuck this. I'm going out.
Well, no, I'm actually the most homebody person ever. I mean, I could stay in my house for 3 months and not see a soul and be just fine.
Right, but you're not the type of person that wants anybody telling you what to do.
I just don't. I looked at it. So the first 2 weeks, I was a lunatic. I was a California COVID Karen to the max. I was so stressed out. I was like, Mom, because she was in Las Vegas. I was like, I don't think you're taking this seriously enough. And she's like, darling, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, I packed up all my stuff because I didn't know if we were going to get stuck in California. I didn't want to get stuck away from my family. So I packed up all my stuff. I headed to Las Vegas. I stayed with my mom, and every time she came in the door, I was like, wipe your shoes.
Jesus Christ.
I was a lunatic, yeah, because I was scared. I didn't know what a pandemic was.
Yeah.
And then I was like, my stepdad would go out and I'm like, here's your mask. And I was wiping down all the groceries. And then I got so crazy into it that I was like, I got like a toolbox out of the garage and I was like, snapped, and
Did you get COVID ever?
I guess so, probably, but I would.
You don't know?
Well, I mean, I tested positive on a test. Does that count?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that means you had COVID.
Yeah.
Unless it's a false positive.
Yeah, which those exist.
Did you
don't
get
they?
an antibody test?
No.
Damn, we could have given you one.
Yeah, but what do you have to do for that? I don't know.
Easy. Blood test. It takes 2 seconds.
It's like-
No. Pinprick. Very quick.
Oh.
Jamie's the king. He's got the
Okay.
best antibodies in the land.
Tested today.
How thick were they?
Yeah.
How
thick.
often do you test?
He does it just to show off.
Make sure.
His gigantic, and his antibody line is like a fat Sharpie line. Like legitimately.
Yeah, so I think well, what happened was I went out in Las Vegas and I got a hangover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not old enough to have those yet. I need to learn my lesson already. But I went out in Las Vegas, I got a hangover, and then I wasn't feeling good the next day. So I was like, okay, I'm not feeling good. It's right before Christmas, and I was like, my mom's like, are you sure this is a hangover? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, but if you want to test me, I don't, it's your house. And she tested me, and it was positive, and it was pretty aggressive. Like, I was really, really sick for about 7 days. My body was aching. Like, it hurt. Like, everything hurt so bad.
So you definitely had COVID.
Yeah.
So why are you saying, like, I guess?
I guess I did. I mean,
you definitely had it. You have all the symptoms of COVID, and
Yeah.
you tested positive.
fine. I had COVID. I had COVID. I don't. But okay, so COVID's definitely different than the flu then. It's definitely.
It's
what'd you
definitely
say?
different than the flu. This is an engineered virus. This is a
Right.
virus
That
that was
they
created
didn't
in a fucking
purposefully-
lab.
that
I don't
they-
think they did it on purpose. I really don't. No, I think the Chinese lab in which they did it in Wuhan was so bad. They were cited for safety violations as recently as I think 2018. I think the real question is, why were they doing this kind of research?
Mm-hmm.
And the people that understand the research that they were doing, like Barack Obama stopped that stuff from happening in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
He put the kibosh on that back then. When the Trump administration was kind of chaotic, that's when they started it all up again.
Mm-hmm.
And they were lying about funding it. They were saying, we don't fund it. But you do fund Eco Health Alliance, and Eco Health Alliance funds the Wuhan lab. So shut the fuck up. This
Yeah.
is all crazy. Like, these guys, the emails alone that were transferred back and forth from Peter Daszak and Anthony Fauci and all these people that were involved in the funding of this research, just the way they were framing it and the way they were disparaging legitimate scientists and legitimate doctors that were not lockstep in agreement with them, it's fucking shameful.
Yeah.
It's not scientific.
Shameful as in
It's
people need to be
political.
in prison, maybe?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, they should. This should be a thing. Like, Rand Paul's the only one who calls them out on it.
Yeah.
And he does it on a regular basis. And he's 100% correct
Yeah.
in the things that he's saying about the funding of this
He's been a
particular
rock
type
star.
of research. Because when you see Fauci say that it's not gain of function research, but that's not true, because the NIH says it's gain of function
Yeah.
research. They all say it now because they want to protect their own ass.
This is a rumor online, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of. Okay, so is Dr. Fauci's wife on the NIH? Isn't she like one of the heads? Isn't that some sort of thing?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah,
She does
let's look it
something. She has some function.
And he used to be the head of the NIH during that whole AIDS
Yes.
thing, which
He's been
we're not
running it.
making
He's-
any comparisons to. If you make any comparisons
Here it
to
is.
then.
She's the head of the Department of Bioethics. It's a National Institute of Health Clinical Center. Yes, there it is.
Do you think maybe this is
Well, it's fucking
problem?
it's all crazy, because these people they have massive amounts of power to decide who gets funded, what labs get funded, and no one wants to step out of line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a crazy fucking book that I'm in the middle of. That's a very controversial book. And it was one of those books, I'm like, God, do I want to get into this? It's Robert
I've
Kennedy
got like
Jr.'s
10. Oh yeah.
Yes. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s
Right.
book, The Real Anthony Fauci. Holy fucking
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's some stuff in that is 100% verifiable truth.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
I know
And
that's the only time I think I've ever. I got your number from Kevin, and I was like, dude, have you had Robert? Have you had him?
No,
Robert?
I haven't had him on.
And I I don't know if you got that text message, but I'm like, oh, it was one of those idiots that texted him saying you should have this so-and-so on your podcast.
That's fine. Listen, that's how I find out about a lot of really interesting people.
But he had, I had talked to him because he's got the Child Health Defense program that he does.
Yeah.
And it's interesting enough, his wife is an actress. I don't know if it's...
She's the wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, she was fully vaccinated and has publicly said, like while Robert was getting in trouble, she's like, I do not have the same beliefs as my husband, And everybody was like, ooh, ouch. Like, why are you going to do that to your husband?
But, you remember when Kellyanne Conway was the White House press secretary? And then her husband hates Trump.
Yeah.
So her husband was publicly against Trump. I like that.
I love that.
I like
love
that.
I think we
People
need
can
more
be
of that.
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
People can be married and have completely different views.
Yeah, but she totally like was like, I'm not with him on this. And it was like, damn, I don't know if I'd ever do that. But Robert, I got on the phone with him and I was like, I'm afraid our union, SAG-AFTRA union, is going to mandate these vaccines. Is there any, taking them to court? How do we figure this out? And he's like, well, and I didn't know this. He's like, well, my wife is an actress and there's no getting around it right now. And I was like, damn, like how they, and I even looked up online today, they still are extending that mandate till mid-July with all the information about it being safe and effective and with all of that stuff coming out. How are they still mandating this in anything? And I think that the people that are mandating it need to be made an example out of.
Well, it's very strange. I think they do it because they think it's the right thing to do. I don't think they do it.
You have such a more positive outlook than I do.
I'm objective. I try to look at everything objectively.
Okay,
I try to look at everything.
What does that mean, objective?
I don't look at it in terms
Emotional?
of what the answer that I want to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it I don't look at it like, oh, I'm suspicious, because I go, well, what are the actual facts, and why would people do this and why would people do that? When you're the head of a union, okay, and you have something like a national public crisis, a national public health crisis, you have to show that you are taking the correct actions. The general belief of the public is the correct action is to be vaccinated. If you are going to step outside of that and say, we're going to take a rebellious position and we're not going to mandate that people be vaccinated, but we are going to mandate that people have to work. And we're going to put them in these sets and we're going to have them around people. But the general consensus is, for most people, think that you're supposed to be vaccinated, right? I would say more than 60% of the population thinks you should be vaccinated. When these people are on the set with these people that are represented by a union that doesn't think you have to be vaccinated, the other people that are vaccinated and feel like they did the right thing now feel like they're being put in danger by other folks, which is really wild, right? Because if that fucking vaccine worked, you wouldn't be thinking like that, because you would be thinking, now I can't get it. Yeah. Remember when Rachel Maddow was saying that on television? Remember when Anthony Fauci was saying that? Yeah. You're not going to spread the disease. You're not going to catch the disease. That's not true.
So which is why I don't think that 60% of the population still think it needs to be, right?
I think most people are not aware of all this. Most people are not listening to me. They're not listening to podcasts. They're not reading the real Anthony Fauci. Most people are getting their news from CNN or from MSNBC or whatever the fuck they listen to, even Fox News.
Do you
They're
feel
not
like
getting.
It's changing a little bit, though.
I don't know. Not on those. It's changing a little.
I think
in that they're starting to be open about the fact that why are people still sick? Why are people people are getting boosted and extra Fauci's had 2 boosters and he's sick with COVID.
Yeah.
Maybe it protected him. Maybe it did. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know whether or not he took remdesivir, because there's a lot of studies that show that stuff is toxic to your kidneys. Mm-hmm. And this is something that also is in that book, the real Anthony Fauci book.
I wish I was, a little bit more objective. I wish I was like that, but my brain kind of works off of maybe more emotional. Would that make me more?
Mine does too. I just don't let it.
I feel like when I see them still mandating something that all of these documents have come out and said, 14% effective. All of these people are still getting COVID-19 and all of it's, I just feel like to push on and force people to get this vaccine that they don't believe in is, in my just simple mind, it just seems like an abuse of power to kind of weed out the people that will comply and weed out weed out the people that won't comply, and so that now we don't have we don't have such like as big of a problem.
I think there's an element of that, but I think the element of that comes after the decisions were already made. The decisions were made, in my opinion, originally to try to protect the public health, and then it became a thing where there is a tremendous amount of money that's being funneled into various organizations, into various politicians, into campaign funds, into all these different things, and it's by these enormous pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, and I don't think that like it wasn't like when Trump came out and said, we're gonna, shut the world down for a second. I don't think that. I feel like that was a really hard decision, because if he didn't, then they would have ammunition on him for a lifetime, and it would have just been like. I feel like that was a really hard decision for.
Well, it's a hard decision, period, because you don't know what to do.
Yeah, so it was like the 2 weeks to slow the spread, but now in looking back at the lockdowns, looking back at the masks, looking back at the forced vaccinations, I feel like anybody who's enforcing it moving forward is absolutely criminal.
But the thing is, in California, they don't think like that. In California, there
I
are
know.
a lot of people that I'm
out.
friends with. See, this is one of the reasons why I disagree. There's people that I'm friends with, okay, that aren't even in the fucking movie industry. They're not even in Hollywood. And they think everyone should be vaccinated and boosted, and they've even had second boost. And I know people that have had boosts, and they've had problems because of it.
Yeah.
They've gotten wrecked.
Yeah.
And they're still in support of boosting in this because they think that this is the way to go to protect everybody. I'm like, protect everybody still? Like, we're in July of 2022, okay? Omicron is the latest variant. I had it for a day. I didn't even believe I had it. I came in here, my nose was sniffling. I was joking with our nurse, and I said, maybe this is it. Maybe I got it. She was like, you're not going to believe it. You're positive. I go, shut the fuck up. I'm like, this is COVID? Granted, this is after I'd already had Delta, so I had immunity. I had some antibodies, and I basically had sniffles. The next day, I was negative, by the way.
And so do you feel like the first time you got it, Delta was it then?
That was real. First time I got it was real.
And do you feel like the second time you got it, your immune?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's like,
my antibodies had kicked in. In fact,
so it's kind of
Bill Gates had said
getting
this.
weaker, right?
Bill Gates had said this, which the way he said it, I think he phrased it in a clumsy way, which, by the way, I can relate to because I do that every day. But he said, when he was talking about it, that unfortunately Omicron works better than the vaccine at protecting people.
Yeah.
And it really does. Mm-hmm. So I got Delta, which was the first,
because everybody had that
one.
over Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Omicron's very mild. So my thing is,
well,
if you're not going to force
something else, because it was not mild for me.
I bet you had Delta.
Right.
Delta's rough. Some people get bad from Omicron, but a lot of people that really, I have friends that got really sick from Omicron and they're vaccinated, and they got really sick from it. And there's some concern that Omicron might be what's called a vaccine escape variant. What a vaccine escape variant is when you have variants that are what they call vaccines that are leaky vaccines that offer protection but don't provide you immunity, right? Like, so it offers you some antibodies and it protects you from getting really seriously ill, but it doesn't stop you from getting it. Well, then the virus figures out a way to get around those antibodies. So what it does is it kind of mutates and favors the vaccine variants, which can get through your antibodies. So like, say if you're vaccinated for the original strain, right, the original strain of COVID, well, that's not around anymore.
Right.
So you have B cell and T cell memory that protect you somewhat. But when your body tries to react and produce antibodies for that original strain's not around anymore. And then this Omicron just sneaks in through the door because you were like, where is COVID? Where is it? We're looking for it out here. And this Omicron COVID just sneaks right in the back door. And people get really sick.
Right.
So this is the speculation why some people get really sick that are vaccinated with Omicron, whereas a lot of people that are not vaccinated that get Omicron aren't getting as sick.
Right.
But that's also anecdotal.
It's kind of
it
weird,
could
though,
be those people that aren't getting as sick were healthier. They take better care of themselves. There's so many variables.
Yeah.
I just don't like when people tell me there's a one-size-fits-all approach to health.
Yeah.
Because I know I know there's people that are doing way more for their health.
Right.
They're taking vitamins, they're resting and exercising, and then there's other people that are drinking and doing heroin.
Right.
We can't say that these people they both need the same treatment for a
Right.
fucking
Or there's
disease.
like people who are like, 350 pounds that are like, well, I'm fat, so you have to take this for me, for my health.
Exactly.
Like me and Kevin are good examples. Like, I love food, I love drink, I love to hang out. He loves to get up and run his 6 miles. He loves to, he doesn't do very good with whiskey, so he's not really allowed for whiskey. But, he doesn't very rarely pollute his body.
Right.
And in my head, it's like I can't, until I'm doing everything I possibly can to take care of myself and be responsible for my health, who am I going to be like, hey, you have to take, this is what I would take. I would take these antibiotics. You have to take these antibiotics,
Right.
And, I have a very close friend of mine who is still masking and is still doing all this. And she says, because she's about, 300 pounds. And she's like, well, I'm fat, so I should be able to, I have to protect myself and to protect my own. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you want to feel better, there's other places to do that,
lose some weight.
Maybe not fried
get
chicken.
Healthy. Yeah. But, we live in a culture where you're not supposed to say that. This was a really interesting part of the early part of the pandemic.
Why can't we? We're America. We're United States.
Well,
of
we
America.
can say it. You can still say it, but a lot of people are going to freak out.
But I can tell people, like, I understand. I'm not necessarily healthy all the time,
Yeah.
And I know that in looking in the mirror, I have to take responsibility for that. I have to take my own responsibility and not push that responsibility off on everybody else. And make some lifestyle changes. And if I don't, then, I have to deal with those
But you have a lot of
consequences.
people in this country that are living in denial about health in regards to being obese. Like, there's a lot of people that think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it and that it's healthy and that it's a lie and that dieting is unhealthy. Like, there's a lot of crazy talk today.
Yeah.
And if you get in the wrong echo chamber online, you can be a victim of that kind of crazy talk because you start believing it.
I feel like what they're saying is like, see, what I'm saying is you can be beautiful. I believe beauty comes from, I feel beauty very much comes
from within?
Yes,
Yeah?
Joe,
Okay.
I feel that. I
Okay.
feel like
You should write cards, like Hallmark cards.
maybe I will after I don't have a job for the rest of my life. No, I do. I feel like a soul shines through, and your mind is beautiful, and your
Yes.
heart is beautiful.
That's true. Those are true things.
Yeah.
There's beautiful people that aren't aesthetically pleasing.
And so when we get into this conversation of, okay, so you're 300 pounds, it doesn't mean I think you're not beautiful. It doesn't mean I don't think that you can't be beautiful with weight on you. I mean, honestly, some guys really prefer it. I don't, like Kevin actually,
Sure.
he actually likes a little bit of cushion. It's really strange. Like, it's funny. I'm like, thank God. But I don't think he likes too much cushion, so I'm over cushioning right now. But like, I think that's where we kind of go wrong is like, we don't have to hate. I don't think that people aren't beautiful if they have extra weight on themselves. I think that people have different tastes, like some
People definitely have different tastes.
Yeah.
But relatively speaking, this is very generally speaking, people are generally more attracted to people who are physically healthy because sexual attraction is a lot about who can you breed with.
Yeah.
And if you see someone and they're built like a bowling ball and they're just sitting there eating cake all day, like generally speaking, like that is not a good person to breed with. Like this is not a good specimen.
Yeah.
So
like the natural instincts of something.
Yes.
Well, in a world where that we're not really working off of, common sense or natural anything.
Right.
I think that maybe that's getting a little bit skewed, and maybe people are finding themselves attracted to things that they normally wouldn't have been attracted to. And
there's a little of that, but it's also social media. People pretend that they like things because it makes them seem more virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
Like they pretend that if you aren't attracted to someone who's overweight, then you're ableist or you're sizeist. Although they'll come up with like terms for why like they shouldn't go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that going on where there's just people reinforcing other people's really bad ideas.
And then and then there's maybe a different take on just beauty is kind of in the eye of the beholder a little bit more.
It definitely is. Yeah, no, it definitely is. Like, I know a girl, and she likes really skinny guys that look like they have like heroin problems.
Yeah.
That's like her thing.
Yeah.
She's into like she wants to see their ribs.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Whoa.
That's her thing. But I mean, I don't know why.
And I know guys like
why.
that, right?
Yeah.
I see guys that are attracted to women where you have to see the ribs, and like there's like
Okay.
you know,
I don't
the
wanna
guys
say
that I attract are probably more the guys that are like, oh, you could push her up against the wall and she's not gonna break.
She might break the wall.
Yeah, bring down the wall. We actually almost brought down the wall on a movie Haywire did, me and Michael Fassbender. Yes, I bring down walls.
There you go. but
I
it's
just
like
I feel like that's what's going on is like this battle between you know, like one side is like, hey, like health, you know, like let's support health, let's not like make this this okay over here, and this other side is just like you know, let's make a beauty in the eye of the beholder. And I do think there's a middle ground where most of us live in. It doesn't have to be just so, you know, black and white. It can be both.
I think you're right. I also think that the idea, like, what one person is attracted to, everybody has to agree on is nuts.
Nuts.
Because first of all, I'm attracted to women. I can't believe they're attracted to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. If I had to date guys, I'd be disgusted.
Yeah.
If I have to date only people who look like me, I'd be like, Jesus Christ, this sucks.
Yeah.
This is not what I like. But women like men, and men like women, and some men like men, and some women like women.
Yeah.
Like, you should be able to like whatever the fuck you want,
Yeah.
but don't lie about what's healthy. This
Absolutely.
is where I'm like, it's not about beauty.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to think you're beautiful because you're anorexic, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's not good for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But-
And I think that is
Yeah.
a nice balance. Is like there's a difference between health and beauty.
Yes.
And the eye of the beholder. Of,
Right.
You know.
But it's just like,
I mean, I'm
we
super
can't
attracted
lie.
to. I'm not attracted to muscles. I'm attracted to more of like the, you know, lean Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
Long legs, lean Muay Thai body. That's, you know, complete opposite my body. You know, I'm attracted to that. You know, I don't really like.
Well,
big,
like you found Kevin Ross.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
What a weird thing that you would be
You know,
attracted to a Muay Thai fighter and
like-
date a Muay Thai fighter.
But where did this start off? Who did I have on my posters on my wall? But more than his body or anything, I like his artistic mind. I like how he's the quiet guy in the room.
Right,
like this
right.
quiet strength.
Yeah, confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's just got like this no bullshit meter. I love that.
Yeah.
But I love his art. So the poster that I had on when I was 16, it was like all Johnny Depp everything. And then Angelina Jolie. So those were like my two poster people.
Well, they're pretty fucking beautiful, both of those two.
Yeah.
Pretty tough to beat in
Yeah.
terms of like just the aesthetics of their face.
But like Johnny Depp screams art to me.
Well, he's an artistic guy. Do you know him at all?
No.
He's a very sweet guy.
Is he?
Sweet guy.
Well, he's got a fan in me. If he wants to do a cancel movie, I'm down.
I don't think he's canceled anymore. I think he's back.
Yeah, I'm trying to be back too. I don't know if it's working.
You can be back. What you said, we defended you because what you said was not incorrect. And the only problem was the comparison to the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I get that people have a hard time comparing things to the Holocaust, but if you go to Nazi Germany, if you go to Germany in like 1930, there's not a chance in hell anybody ever saw that coming.
Yeah.
No one saw what happened and the way Jews were demonized and the evil Nazi empire that took over. Within 14, 13, 12 years, it was happening. That's crazy.
And
that happens by othering people.
And that's
what you were saying.
Yeah.
That is what you were saying.
I was saying because I think I've been a little bit naive in my life. I would always look at these, you know, the stories of the Holocaust, and I'd always think, oh my gosh, like, how did that ever happen?
Right.
How did that ever happen in people's brains while you're in like their neighborhood and they're kicking these people out of their homes? They're taking you out, and you're watching your, you know, neighbors get, you know, arrested. How did anybody let that happen? I just didn't understand it, and I've been a very, you know, I mean, if you look through every single post on my, you know, Twitter account, I mean, I watch movies all the time on the Holocaust, and I'm really, you know, my heart, I'm like the one that's bawling at these stories.
Like Schindler's List? Horrific, right?
Sure. And, you know, have you ever seen Swing Kids?
No.
Which is direct. Oh, you haven't seen Swing Kids?
No.
So it's directly what I was talking about. I actually had that in mind when I posted this. It's a bunch of German boys, and they would do swing as their rebellion. So they dance swing. And there was a group of them. Well, then the Nazis started to kind of like infiltrate them. And, you know, they had 2 of them signed up for it. And I don't want to ruin the ending or anything, but you saw how the brainwashing started happening with each different person. And it was like, I'd watch it. That's what I had in my mind, was neighbors turning against neighbors.
And we saw that.
Yeah. And what had but the whole reason why that happened, and they kind of came after me so hard over that.
They were already on you.
They were on me for like...
What were they on you for? They were looking for a reason to hate you.
I think because I just wasn't towing their line. I just wasn't, you know, I wasn't putting the black squares up. I wasn't saying, okay, masks and lockdowns, and I wasn't saying vaccinate, and I wasn't like doing all
But were you saying something against that? Like, what was the
I
thing?
said, look, if I said a lot of stuff. I said, if people are out there on the streets, right, and protesting, I think we can open up our churches and our businesses and continue on. I mean,
oh, that's what you said. Don't you talk logically?
And then I beep bopped and boop. So me and Kevin are sitting there watching a UFC fight. And all these people are attacking me online, and they're like, put trans rights in your, you know, bio, put trans rights and do this. And I'm like, why are all these people being so aggressive?
In your bio? They were asking you to put
your
trans
pronouns
rights in your bio?
Yeah, like
put your
tweet
pronouns?
out trans rights, hashtag trans rights. And then they were saying, put your pronouns in your bio. And and it was really aggressive. And me and Kevin are just like cooking chicken wings and like watching the fights. And I was like, this, you know, so I was like, this is aggressive. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put something in my bio that, like, you know, like, I didn't know why people were putting this in their bio. I just wasn't with it. I had no idea Jordan Peterson had ever been canceled, like, you know, years and years before. So I just wasn't with it with, like, the pronouns. So I was like, Kevin, what should I put in? Like, he's in the kitchen. I'm like, what should I put? He's like, I don't know. Like, I was like, beep, bop, boop. And he's like, yeah, just put that. And so I was like, I wasn't trying to make fun of trans people. I was saying, my statement was to be like, you can put anything you want in your bio. It's not, you know, like, you can do whatever you want. And the publicists were like, well, you know, if you hadn't put slashes in between and if you would have added a word, it wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my God.
I was like, so then all the people that were coming after me, I just started booping them because I felt like, you know, those little gift boops. I just started booping them because I felt like I don't like to be mean. I'm not a mean person. So I've gotten canceled over, I feel like I'm in the detention room and I have no idea why I'm there. I'm like, for booping people, for saying you should keep the world open, for, you know, medical freedom, and then for putting up it was, I think the image on the meme was aggressive. But I coming from a passionate place, I think that I just wanted people to have conversations, and that's all I was really wanting.
You recognized it was crazy.
Yeah.
There's a thing that's going on where when people start telling someone that looks like me to put your pronoun in your Twitter bio, like, hey, no.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm a woman. Maybe. But what are the odds? Most likely.
You got some freaky shit in there, though.
Maybe. But most likely not.
Yeah.
And if I was, I would fucking tell you, okay?
Yeah.
If I felt like I was a woman, I'd let you know.
Yeah.
And until then, shut the fuck up
Yeah.
and just leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's like we're dealing with the smallest percentage of a population. And then, you know, that gets exaggerated in terms of like the response it gets from the general public, because it seems to be something that if you're a compassionate, kind, caring person, this is what you support.
Yeah.
Well, I support everybody in every way until you
Same.
start telling me what to do.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
and I'm not interested in
And
that.
I don't like the bullying that came along with it. You know, I was like, so yeah, I was very vocal about all of it. And I don't think that I was towing their line. I also don't think that, so I never told anybody who I voted for, right? Like, and to be real, I've never voted in my life, which is not like a proud thing, but in 2020, I've never believed, maybe this is growing up in the grunge phase or whatever. I just never believed in, like, I never believed it counted. So I was, but when 2020 came around, I knew that after the devastation of what had happened with COVID and the lockdowns and all of that, I wanted to make sure we had a strong leader that was going to be able to get this economy back. Because once again, it's like work makes people healthier. It gives people structure. It helps us like survive, and it gives us pride. You know, it gives us pride to work hard in our country. It gives me pride to work hard. I love to work. It's my favorite thing to do. So, so I wanted to make sure that I was going to actually vote in 2020. But I wasn't like, you know, all the celebrities that like took off their clothes and did these campaigns and they're like, you know, vote for who we're voting for. And they're like doing these naked campaigns and nobody asked for. And it was like and they're all letting you know very much so that they're voting Democrat and they're voting for Biden and all this. And I'm like, this is the only thing I did. I put a sticker on my hand that says I voted, and a hate campaign trending again. And all I did was, I didn't even tell people who I voted for. I just said I voted, you know, for my first time, and I did a little like sparkly, you know, thing.
And they're mad at you for that.
Because they're putting all of their...
Right.
Like, I never was the person to run around with a red MAGA hat on, or MAGA hat.
Did you vote for Trump? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, I did. But I wasn't that person, though, that was like... But I didn't like how they were being treated because they were passionate about who they were voting for, just because they were so passionate about that. As well as like these people, like why couldn't we have equal passion?
The problem is the way Trump behaves makes it the people who oppose him feel like they're very justified in their anger because he fights people. Like if you say something that he opposes, he goes after you. He gets angry.
And
he insults people. He mocks people.
I understand both.
He divides people.
I understand both of that, right?
Yeah.
Like I understand very much so. Like people would prefer more professional voice. But these are the only options we had in 2020.
Right.
And that's
that's pragmatic. That's a good way to look at it.
So I was like, you know, one of my co-stars contacted me and he's like, you're not voting for Trump though. And I was like, well, yeah, I am going to. And he was like, Gina. And I'm like, what has Joe Biden said in his past that Trump hasn't said? I mean, if you look through all of Joe Biden's history, and I was like, and to be honest, that 3 years of very positive economy that he was in charge, I would be a bit pissed off if I was him too. They didn't give him a fair shake in the news to like save his life. I mean, like they were the CNN hoax and the Russian hoax and all of that just on top of him. And, you know, they are just as guilty as Trump was as dividing the media is, you know, and now they're kind of breaking down and going to people like you and going elsewhere. And the media is now suffering, which as they should, because they're just as guilty as. But
well, they have a problem and they have an outrage economy.
Yeah.
That's a big part of what they sell is trying to get people outraged about something. So they find things to exaggerate and become outraged at.
And we're going to get pretty sick and tired of that. The worse things get, they're going to have to start, you know, reporting on real news.
Well, I think that's what CNN's strategy is now.
Yeah.
CNN was purchased, and
they got a different owner now?
Yes, and one of the big things that this guy's saying is that he wants to bring back the objective news journalism instead of like editorializing things, instead of commentary, instead of opinion, instead of all this bullshit that you get from these Brian Stelter and Don Lemon type characters.
Oh, my word.
That's the reason why people don't want to listen to CNN.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if CNN just stuck with like subjects that are important to the world and to the American people, and here's the problem with the shipping crisis. This is what's going on. Mm-hmm. Here's what we know about, you know, this attack on this person. Here's what we know about this oil leak. That kind of shit is what people go to CNN for. They don't go to CNN to listen to the opinions of dorks. Yeah. You know, and that's what they were trying to sell. Yeah. And that's why their credibility kept dropping. And then when they were attacking other people, it's just, God, it's so transparent what you guys are doing. You're little fucking watchdogs for the pharmaceutical industry, which is they're being directed. If you find out that one of the things we found out when we were doing this podcast is 75% of all television ads are from pharmaceutical drug companies.
Pfizer.
But they think with news it's even higher than 75%. 75% for all of television. But with news it's probably even higher than that.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why they frame things the way they do. This is the reason why they cover stories the way they do. This is the reason why they never talk about adverse events, adverse side effects. They never talk about the VAERS reports and the underreporting. They never talk about any of that shit. They never talk about when people who are famous people who have a horrible reaction to vaccine, whether they die or have strokes or whatever, they gloss it over.
Yeah.
And no need to talk about that.
And until they do, I don't think that they're going to get their name back. You know what I mean? Until
Right.
they genuinely, the government. So like the government, the medical, companies, the media, everybody needs, the Disney. Everybody needs to kind of break it back down. They need to realize that our trust in the government is probably at an all-time low. I mean, our trust in medical information is at an all-time low. Nobody trusts anything, and I'm like, I don't trust anything. I was all a big fan of modern medicine, and I still am. I'm not absolutely ridiculous when it comes to any of it, but like, I'm trying to figure out. I don't want to take it. I'm becoming one of those people where I'm like, okay, I don't want to take Tylenol if I don't need Tylenol just because I have a little headache, where it's like before I was like, pop a Tylenol in there, like now I'm kind of thinking,
I read a terrible story about a woman who got COVID and died from Tylenol.
well, geez.
No, really, you can die from Tylenol.
So
So this is what it was.
we need
This woman got
need
COVID.
to break it down, right? We need to kind of like go back to, water, healthy eating, kind of break ourselves back down, put away the things that we're using that is hurting us, and try to kind of get our systems clean, and then we can really see what the big problems are, and then we can kind of figure out how to get healthier from there, I think.
Yeah, I should be clear about this. I'm not saying you shouldn't take Tylenol. What I'm saying is that there is a dose that's lethal for Tylenol, and it's not really that high.
Really?
No, it's not. This woman, she had COVID, and she was she's in pain. She had the horrible body aches, and she took Tylenol, and it wasn't helping, and so she took more, and that wasn't helping, and she took more, and she wound up in the hospital, and she had liver failure.
I think that's important to know.
It is important to know, because a lot of people don't know that Tylenol will fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Like, what is the lethal dose of Tylenol? Let's find that out.
I was using Tylenol rapid release when I was sick. I was like topping that thing.
Tylenol will fuck you up. It will fuck you up.
So you don't.
I don't take anything. When I had my knee
so-
surgery, I didn't take shit.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not taking nothing.
I'm always
because
like, can I have 6
when I had
hydrocodone,
my
please?
when I had my first knee surgery, I can't remember if they gave me Percocets or Vicodins. I can't remember what it was, but I do remember I sold it to my friend Jeff, who was
You're that guy.
the local drug dealer at the pool hall. He was this guy who looked
We all
like
have that friend.
he looked like he was out of a Beavis and Butthead cartoon. Okay, adult maximum acetaminophen. So this is the Tylenol and numerous brands and products, including acetaminophen. Now the most common cause of acute liver failure in the
word.
United States.
Oh my gosh.
So maximal acetaminophen daily doses. For adults, it's 4 grams a day, and for children, it's 75 milligrams per kilogram a day, which is not a lot. That is not a lot.
I'm so glad we're bringing this up.
Yeah. Toxic dose, 10 grams or 200 milligrams per kilogram as a single ingestion over a 24-hour period, or 6 grams or 150 milligrams per kilogram per 24-hour period for 2 days. 200 milligrams per kilogram in healthy children 1 to 6 years of age. So it can fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, read that. The most common cause of acute liver failure in the United States.
Would that be overdose?
Overdose, yeah, overdose.
Well, that is something I think that needed to be said today.
Yeah, people need to know.
Yeah.
It's not good for you. By the way, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories aren't so fucking terrific for you either.
What
Like
is it?
ibuprofen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My friend Cam Haynes,
What
who
about
runs,
like Midol and Pamprin and all of those stuff?
I don't know if those are ibuprofen. Are
So-
those ibuprofen as well?
I don't know. I feel like they're in that family, maybe.
Those are for girls, so. Meanwhile, I live in a fucking house full of them. I should probably
you
know.
should probably know
I
that.
should probably know. Yeah.
No, but like I started after all of this vaccine and like, all this stuff, I've been like, okay, do I really need that? Do I really need that Tylenol? Or is this just kind of something where I could drink a little bit more water and feel better? Do I really, like, because at the beginning of the whole COVID thing, I would get like a headache and I'd be like, I have it. It's done. It's over. And now it's like I have a headache, drink more water, or I'm not feeling good. Maybe it's, what did I eat yesterday? It's come down to that. I think the older I get, the more I'm like, if I can get food hangovers now, like if you put something.
Sugar.
Yeah. When you
I'll
put
get a food hangover with a big piece of cake.
Yeah. You love cake.
I love cake.
You do? What kind?
Oh, yeah. Well, my favorite dessert is not really cake. It's tiramisu, but it's kind of like cake.
Mm-hmm.
Tiramisu is basically cake, right?
It's tiramisu that.
It's got the little angel
Yeah.
cookies. It's like
Yeah.
That's the Italian in me.
Yeah.
I like
Italian.
mostly.
Oh,
I love
okay.
tiramisu.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Oh,
But
mine's
I like a
just-
chocolate cake too.
Really?
I'll fuck up a chocolate cake. A good juicy one.
I mean, yeah.
Good moist chocolate cake. I'm getting excited. Maybe
Yeah,
with a
I know.
scoop
Now
of
you've got me
vanilla ice
thinking.
cream. A warm chocolate cake with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Oh, come on.
So is it just sugar? You like your cheat meal is like sugar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pasta is my cheat meal.
Oh yeah.
For food, it's pasta for
Yeah.
sure. 100%.
What about chicken fried steak and eggs?
I'll eat that too.
That is one of my
Yeah,
favorite.
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, they probably have a good place here in Texas.
Oh,
yeah.
guaranteed. They have chicken fried lobster out here. They chicken fry everything up here.
Oh, I don't know about that.
It's fucking good.
No.
Shout out to Three Forks. There's a Three Forks steakhouse
Chicken
that
fried
has
lobster.
a chicken fried lobster
Oh.
as an appetizer.
I
It's
feel like that
it's
takes away from
slamming.
everything. Okay,
Uh-uh.
I'll trust you.
Uh-uh.
You should have Dana White do that on his.
Yeah, it's fucking Fridays.
Yeah, his Bucket Fridays. I told him I was like, those are my favorite shows. Like,
Those are great.
Like I don't even look at the fights anymore. I'm like, what is he having on a Friday?
Have you seen when Dean Thomas does a parody of it? He puts like a fake
No.
bald wig on and it puts a shirt on that's way too small so you like to see his stomach. Dean's hilarious.
No, I haven't seen
He's
that.
really funny.
That's great.
Yeah, he.
I'm actually mad that Dana White does that because I'm like, damn, that's such a good idea. I want to do Fuck It Fridays now.
It's a great move.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy, Dana, because he doesn't have to do anything. Look at Dean.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Let me give you some fun.
Vacation. I'm rich, motherfucker.
Go from the beginning. Go from the beginning so we hear what he says.
What's up, everybody? Dino White here, live at the UFC headquarters. Today is Suck It Saturday, and I know I've been
Suck It
gone
Saturday.
but I'm
He calls
on
himself
vacation.
Dino White.
I'm rich, motherfucker. I can do what the fuck I want. Today, we're going to be making Rice Krispie Sloppy Joes.
Look how he has
the
his shirt
Hawaiian
too
style.
short.
So we call them sloppy hoes. First, we got to make the sloppy hoe.
Ew, no.
Bam.
We got to mix it in with our sauce.
Oh no.
And mix it up real good. Now you got to add the sloppy hoe.
Get out.
What is Rice Krispies and Spam? Oh my god, that
Now
looks
it's time to
disgusting.
try it.
I gotta follow this guy.
Oh my god, he's eating it.
It doesn't suck. It doesn't suck.
That's a great.
He really studied Dana White when he did that.
Doesn't suck.
Doesn't
It doesn't
suck.
suck.
Thumbs up. Doesn't suck.
I just love how he has his shirt that's too short. So
His little
it's
belly
like his
button.
midriff is hanging out, and the bald cap. Suck it Saturday.
Oh my gosh, that was too cute. What is his name?
Dean Thomas.
Dean Thomas.
Dean
I'll
is
remember.
he's a coach at ATT, and he used to fight for the UFC. And he comes in big fights. He'll be the guy that we go to. Like we'll occasionally, like about strategy, we'll ask him a question,
shit.
and he will
I'm
say
supposed to know
like,
who
"What
he is."
Yuri has to do this and this and that, and what Glover's doing great is this, and when this comes up, the reason why it's getting through is because of that." What is he doing? Give me some more volume. Refresh this. Refresh this.
That little shirt.
He's a fun dude.
Another edition of Suck It Saturday here,
Suck It
live
Saturday.
at the UFC headquarters. Today, we're making a dish from the Great Depression back in 1999 when me, Lorenzo, and Frank bought the UFC. You're welcome, mother. I got my chef, the fake-ass Gordon Ramsay, to help me out. First, you start with one pork chop.
Chef.
Now we gotta fry it up. Now smother it in Nutella.
Oh no. Oh no.
Now it's time to try it. And we call this a nut chop.
Oh, he eats it. Not bad.
That's good. That might be the best thing we've ever had done here.
Oh my gosh.
That's such a good impression
It
of Dana.
is.
I just love the commitment to the same kind of shirt every day
Yeah.
with the midriff showing.
I feel like that's not a bad Halloween costume if you're looking for one.
That's a great one.
Right?
Be Dean as
Dana White, yeah.
for Suck It Saturday.
Yeah.
And just have a t-shirt that says Suck It Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing.
That's a great Halloween.
That's-
That would be
Wait,
like
you just told everybody it's gonna. You can cut that out, but you
no,
can do
no,
that.
put that out there. But that would be. I
No,
want
there's gonna
everybody
be
to
people
wear it.
being you, being him.
That is hilarious. But look, he's got another one. But I just think that like that, if you showed up at a party with a Suck It Saturday shirt on, with a bald cap and a shirt that's too small, only the like deep insiders would be like, dude, that's a costume.
I'm happy to be a part of that group now because I'm going to follow him on Instagram after
No,
we
Dean's
get
awesome.
done.
I love that dude. He's been on here before too.
Dana, he was actually one of the people, randomly enough, that reached out to me when I got canceled, and sent me a text message. He's like, "You have to get a hold of Ben Shapiro." And this is coming from like the last time me and Dana spoke. It was over controversy of like me coming back, having a fight. So it was a surprise text, and he was like, "Hey," it was right when I was canceled, and he was like, "Gina, you have to get a hold of Ben Shapiro. He's looking for you. You got to, you know." And Dana was very instrumental in like, you know, I was like, "Wow, this is so." It's so random, the people that come out of the woodwork when you're like completely tossed to the side, and then like you really get to see people for who they are, I think. And he was very encouraging.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that cower when the mob comes after someone. They
like
don't want to get involved.
the majority.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And they also take the side of the mob, even people that you thought were your friends.
So that happened to you as well?
Not really, but it did really.
Okay, you don't. You can't
see
relate.
it happen to other people.
What?
No, look, my friends are my friends.
Yeah.
I vet my friends. Like, if you're my friend, like, that means I really fucking know you.
I just don't have that many.
Yeah, it's hard to find that many.
I don't really like hang out in Hollywood all the time. You know, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not doing the schmoozing. You know.
Well, listen, if I was an actor and if I was in Hollywood, I would have probably zero friends. I'd have like Chris Pratt would be my only friend.
Yeah.
I'd have, like,
has he been on here?
No, he hasn't, but he will be, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I'm friends with him. I'm friends with him.
Good.
I
he seems
love
like
him.
a good one.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's my example. Him and Scott Eastwood. When people want to talk shit about actors, I'm like, let me tell you something. Scott Eastwood is
not
the
all bad.
normalest motherfucker. His dad is one of the greatest movie stars of all time.
Yeah.
He's an iconic figure.
Yeah.
And Scott couldn't be more normal.
He'd
be
friends-
like a cousin. Like, this is my cousin Scott. Like, oh, hey, what's up?
He's in
like,
San
you
Diego,
never
right?
think. He's here now.
Oh, he is.
He lives out here. He lives in Austin.
Because he was always working out at this is gonna I'm totally name dropping my friend, Artem at the Boxing Works.
Oh yeah,
or
okay.
Boxing
San Diego.
Club. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
He'll appreciate that. This will be all over on Instagram. But he's this precious Russian guy who's just like.
He's a bad motherfucker.
He's amazing. He was a Muay Thai fighter.
Yeah.
Seeing him fight was so cool.
Yeah, he was nasty. I saw him fight live.
Like, oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
In LA.
He's got that really sick kind of thing in you that I had a little bit. It's just like when you get hit hard, then you just like see red. And he had it more probably because he was just mean when he fought.
He was a bad motherfucker.
Sean Yarborough was like that. Sean Yarborough, that's another good friend
I
of mine.
remember when Artem fought Joe Schilling
Yeah.
at that the big match in LA.
Yeah. They're friends now.
Yeah.
Joe Schilling's awesome.
He's my fucking friend.
I love how
that
much
dude.
he doesn't care.
He's the man.
It's like
he doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't.
He put a video up of him knocking out a guy in a bar. Guy was an asshole in a bar. The guy like bowed up on him and he flatlined him in like 2 seconds.
See, the problem is if I would have done that, I would have been in prison for 5 years because I just get in trouble like that.
Yeah, you say that, but if it was some mouthy bitch, some Karen.
I would be in prison. Look, I am bopping booping people and losing jobs. Okay, so like the second I get real serious about something.
If you were at a bar and there's a video of you trying to walk, excuse me, and you're walking and some bitch gets in your face, fuck you, you fucking whore, yeah, and you just crack her with an elbow and flatline her, people would think it was amazing.
Yeah, but then I'd be in prison.
But it's a little different when girls beat up girls, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I used to get in fights. I could never go out in Las Vegas when I was little without getting in a fight every
Really?
weekend.
When you were little?
I think that's why I don't like to hang out very much.
How old were you? Like 4, 5?
Yeah. I was like,
I mean, when you say little, when I think of little kids.
I'm thinking like around 17, 18, 19. I used to get in fights a lot.
And were you training then?
No, I wasn't training till I was, I'm sure I did get into a couple of fights after I started training, but they had started to like go away by that time.
So you're getting in like unskillful training fights?
No, like before it wasn't with any training. I would just get like
just wild.
Yeah, like for some reason I'd go into a bar when I was like, in Vegas. Actually, this had to be up until 21. So when did I start training? I started training when I was 21. I met Kevin when I was 19. That's where I'm going wrong because we got in a bunch of fights when we were younger. We would get jumped at parties. It was like
really?
It was all the time in Vegas. I don't know how anybody's ever escaped getting punched or in a fight. Like we could not escape it.
Vegas is a wild place to grow up?
I think it was then, and I think more people train now, so it's like a little bit
more risky.
Yeah, But when we were growing up, it was like, oh man,
Yeah, you pick a fight with a rando today.
I
Good
don't pick a
luck.
fight.
No, I know you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But you can fight. But I'm saying if you're a person and you pick a fight with some rando,
Yeah.
like you might get fucked
Yeah.
up. You might run into the wrong dude.
yeah, everybody trains now.
Get your legs broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't like that. So we would go out and I'd just be sitting back. I would be sitting there doing nothing, and it's always like the meanest, baddest bitch in the room would come up and be like, you know, you're looking at my boyfriend, and I'd be like, you know, look like, you have a boyfriend? Like, I don't think so. I'm like, where is he? And then like next like cut to in the parking lot, you know, like wearing full white one time. I was wearing a white outfit, and I like got in this massive fight, and I mounted her and did all of that, and you know, didn't even know what that was at the time. And then I come back in, my hair is a fro, and I've got like all of this asphalt down my, you know, nice white clothes. And I don't know why it would always end up like that. Me and Kevin were jumped at a house party.
So it probably wasn't like a big surprise to some people that you went on to become an MMA fighter.
Not my family. My family just tried to make it not happen. My family, so they're, you know, they're kind of well known in Nevada. They would, when I had my first professional fight in MMA, against Leticia Spistova, she didn't have any business being in there, but they didn't know that. It was the first sanctioned fight in Las Vegas for women. And I had my Papa Don and my dad, who used to be on the athletic commission back then.
Is Papa Don, is that like your grandpa?
Yeah, my grandfather,
Okay.
my dad's dad. And then my dad, who used to be on the athletic commission during when Tyson had his ear bitten off. So he
bit off Holyfield's ear. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, backwards. So they called the athletic commission and they said, don't you dare both of them did, don't you dare let her fight. And so all of the athletic commission guys, they're like, well, we can't stop her from doing this, you know, guys, like it's, you know. And so all of them for the rest of my fight career would come up and like be like, hey, remember when we stood up against your family? We told them, and and you know, eventually my dad did come around, you know.
How many fights did you have?
I had a total of I think 24, 12 1-1. Do my math for me. 12 1-1 in Muay Thai, and 7-1 in MMA.
When do you think they accepted it? Like, how many fights did you have to have before they were on board?
I think they saw the difference in my life. You know, I lost 30 pounds immediately. I wasn't partying. I was dedicated. I was traveling. We went to Thailand a couple times. I think after they saw the positive impact that it had on my life, then they were like, oh, this is way better than her faking going to college. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's when, you know, it's really hard, and I'm sure you know, it's really hard to watch people that you love fight. You know, like I turn into a complete nutcase when I see
hard.
I'm so glad Kevin doesn't fight anymore. It made Cowboy Cerrone was in my movie recently, Terror on the Prairie, and it was going to be hard for me to watch him fight because you just care so much. And it's hard to watch people you love fight. So it was really hard. My mom would like, you know, take a Xanax, you know, and then one time she gave Kevin like a Xanax, and then she gave him another one. And so by the end, she's going to kill me for telling you this. By the end, you just see like Kevin was just like barely able to hold up his head. He was like, and I was like, yay, I won. This is so much fun.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to watch people you care about
here,
get
right?
hit. Is it?
Aren't you?
No.
You're not hot?
No, well, I was in the cold plunge before I got here.
Oh, okay. I need to do that.
I do the cold plunge every day.
Yeah.
We have one here if you want to do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I'm going to go from this like nice poncho to taking off.
Then you're going to want the poncho back.
Can I have it? I'll have some whiskey if
Sure.
it's okay with you.
Yeah, for sure.
I heard that was the kind of thing.
Yeah, we do that. We have a little booze.
Thank you. What kind is this?
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks.
This is Buffalo Trace. Real American whiskey.
That's nice.
It's real shit.
Yeah.
From 1776 or 1773 rather.
Oh, look, you just got hardcore about your whiskey just now.
Yeah, they're older than the country.
This
company, Buffalo Trace.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Older than the United States. How about that?
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're the longest continually operating distillery in the United States.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
And they got a fucking buffalo on the bottle. How do you not love them?
So are you enjoying your move? Are you glad that
I love it here.
really Austin?
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I assume my final form.
Mm-hmm. You're staying here for
I love it here. Yeah, like I love it here like immediately. Like immediately. I was like, this is better. It's like I just didn't the problem with comedy, like stand-up comedy being connected to Hollywood is there's a bunch of problems. Like one of the problems is the same thing that you experienced, is that there's a lot of cowards in that business. And
damn. That's been heartbreaking to see.
sad.
Yeah.
They have to be cowards to exist in that system. It's like very difficult to stand up for what you actually believe and go against the grain because you won't get work.
And you thought, I was thinking, that like the Babylon Bee became super popular. And why? Why did they? Because they weren't afraid to make jokes about like the stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like you would get canceled if you didn't, if you even toyed around with making a joke as a comedian during the last 2.5 years.
Sort of, but not when you go to the clubs. They fucking laugh hard.
Yeah.
People love the fact that comics are still doing real comedy. But it was harder and harder to do it in LA because there were so many people that were just like mediocre comedians that were attacking good comics for telling daring jokes and pretending that jokes were in fact statements that you would make like on an affidavit or something. Like you're like pretending these people aren't just joking around. And then it became, this weird time where it's like people were digging their heels in the sand and they were dividing themselves from other people and attacking other comics and
It's like this weird thing infected every avenue of like being able to have freedom of thought, which comics are like. I feel like they're the freest thinkers ever, right? I feel like comedians are like that avenue of like, hey, let's break free and like think about things differently and joke about it. And to not see those people stand up and, kind of push against the cancel culture and push against the norm was really heartbreaking. And as well as like rappers, like where was our rappers and where was our artists and our musicians at this time? I feel like they all went quiet on us.
A lot of people got scared. They got scared, first of all, because their livelihood was taken away. They weren't allowed to work anymore, right? So they got scared about that. And then they wanted to get it back. So there seemed to be a clear path to get it back. Get everyone vaccinated, we go back to work. So there was like this path that everybody thought they were supposed to be on, And also it's like it takes a lot of time to be actually informed.
Yeah.
To really be informed about what's going on. Like when I start telling people about the history of the pharmaceutical companies and the judgments against them, and when you find out that they knew that certain drugs were going to have adverse reactions, but they were going to be very profitable, so they released them anyway, and then they were fined billions of dollars and killed thousands and thousands of people directly because of their decisions. People are like, what? And then you show them the stories and the articles. They're like, this is real? How do I not know about this? Because you watch fucking CNN and they're not going to tell you.
Right.
They're not going to let you know that this is an important part of the history of medical science in this country. And there's a lot of people during that time that just wanted to go back to work and they wanted to do the right thing. They wanted to be shown as being a person who did the right thing. They wanted to take photos with them with a Band-Aid on their arm. Look at me, I have a Band-Aid on my arm. I'm a good person.
They should have just put a
Gina.
Band-Aid over their mouth.
Yeah, right. They should have. Well, they did that for a while too. Remember No Hate?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Remember that?
Yeah.
They asked me to do that. They wanted me to be a part of their campaign.
Oh, no.
I will say no hate with my mouth. I don't want to cover my mouth with duct tape. This is not a smart move and write no hate on my face. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. And I think it's, hopefully the virtue signaling has had its day. We're all exhausted over it. And
It has, but it hasn't. It's going to come in waves. It's going to be like everything else. It's going to be like COVID.
I'm just going to stock up on as much whiskey as possible and be on a ranch in Montana is what I'm going to do. Montana's where I want to go.
I love Montana.
Like,
I love it. Did you go there to film that movie?
So this is what happened. This is actually crazy. So I was like, I can't stay in California anymore. Basically, I think what you did too. You're just like done, right, with California. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just done. I was like, I can't. I feel claustrophobic there. So I lived in Hermosa Beach. It was an amazing place. But as soon as my cancellation happened, I had reporters showing up. I had drones looking into my, my place because it looked out onto the ocean, and there was drones popping up. There was people. I didn't live in a gated community, and so there was like people in vans, and there was people following me to places, and I was just very exposed, which was very dangerous of Disney to have made the comment they did.
What did they say?
They said, basically, I mean, we could look it up. We do not support Gina. We're not going to work with her anymore based off of her something about cultural and religious differences or something like that. Basically, calling me a racist and that I'm not accepting of other people's, lifestyles.
That doesn't have anything to do with what you said. That's what's so crazy. You literally were saying the opposite.
I was literally trying.
You were trying to unite people.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was trying to say
No, I know
neighbors
you
don't
were.
hate neighbors, and yeah, it didn't really come off, like I thought it was, and I'll be more sensitive to that in the future, of course. But like I thought it was something that everybody could get on board with. But they had a target on me for.
They decided that you were right wing.
Yeah.
They decided you were a Trump supporter.
When in reality, it's like I just am like open-minded, being new to the political, spectrum. I don't know how conservative I really am. I don't know how.
Well, I bet you're pretty socially liberal.
I don't know how Republican I am. I don't even know what those really mean, and I don't really like labels. I just know that certain people seem to be making more sense and more common sense, and other people just seem to be spewing out a lot of hate. And for this moment in time, I will definitely be voting, a certain way because these people are making sense. The second those people decide that they want a power trip and not make any sense, I promise you I'll be the first one that says this doesn't make any sense. And I feel like that makes me somewhere in the middle,
Yeah, I think that's most people.
Yeah. And so so I had all of these really scary incidences with like stalkers and as soon as I got canceled, I lost all my hearing. Like my hearing just went away.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just from stress?
I looked at. Apparently, that's not a thing.
Must be a thing.
It had to have been because as soon as it happened, I had earmuffs on me, and so I couldn't.
90% of your hearing?
Yeah, like 95. I couldn't hear anything, and Kevin would be like, I had a nervous. My body reacted. I do feel. So I had to have Kevin make me a ear doctor, like get me in as soon as possible. Yeah, and that was in 5 days. So I had to stay being canceled. I couldn't talk to anybody on the phone. I just barely got Ben Shapiro on the phone that night, but I was still like kind of like, what? Like trying to hear everything he says, and everything past that had to be over text message, and I couldn't talk to my family. And so we got into the ear doctor, and it's like a massive waiting room, and I'm like, can't hear myself say my name, So I'm just like sliding over, and I don't want to say my name because I'm trending on Twitter, and I'm like, just a packed room of
trending
people.
on Twitter. I don't want to say my name because I'm trending on Twitter.
So I was like, Gina Carano. I imagine I was like, really? She's like, what? I was like, the name's on here. I can't hear myself say my name. Can you just look at it? And she's like, oh. And I could see her say, Gina Carano. And I was like,
Jesus Christ.
Fuck me. This is bad. And she's like, we don't have you. And I'm trying to get on a plane by Friday. She's like, we don't have you in the system till next month. And I was like, oh my God. I've got paparazzi chasing me around the freaking parking lot waiting for me downstairs. And so I was crying, and I was like texting my manager. I'm like, please just get me into a specialist. I need to get to, I obviously need to get this interview with Ben Shapiro over and fly to, you can't fly when your ears are like that. And
Right.
so first of all, I about faced the paparazzi in the parking lot. I was so mad. I'm lucky I didn't get hurt, but I got behind them and I was taking pictures of them like a psychopath, and I was like,
Jesus.
And then they ran off that way, and I lost them because they had to speed off that way, and I went to a quick care, and I'm sitting there just crying in the parking lot this is awful. What if this is permanent? By the 6th day of this, you feel like this might be permanent and you're never going to hear again.
You had 6 days of that?
Yeah.
How long did it ultimately last?
I went into the quick care. So I've got an appointment with the specialist. I went into the quick care, and there was a sweet little gay guy who's just like, oh honey, and I could see all the, oh honey, it's okay. That's what he looked like. And I was like, is this permanent? And he's like, you just got a little wax in there. And I'm like, wax? He's like, yeah, well, you'll be fine. That's how like quiet it was to me, you know. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can be normal today. And they just went in and flushed it out, and it was like, hearing never felt so strong in my life, and it was hurting my ears because everything I could hear.
That was
everything.
an urgent care?
Yeah.
They did that? They just cleaned your ear?
They just take that, like, you know, the teardrop
that
thing. And, yeah, they have to put something in there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, how ridiculous. I've been stressed out for 6 days over wax.
So you just grew extra wax when you got stressed out?
I don't know. I had a surgery done when I was really little because they think there's like the tubes in your ears or something like that. I don't know. So my ears, it's really funny. My ears, my mouth, my nose, and my ear holes, this is going to sound weird, are really tiny.
Yeah.
And so like when I eat like sushi, I have to bite it in half.
Because of the wasabi?
No, because the freaking massive, they're huge.
So your mouth hole is too small.
When I had mouth guards made for me, they said I'd have to do like the child one. So
really?
Yeah. It's and then when I cry, it doesn't come out my nose holes. This is such a weird.
When you cry?
Yeah, when I cry.
Like snot doesn't come out your nose
Yeah,
hole?
so it goes back down into my throat because it
so
doesn't.
you start like.
Yeah, so I choke when I like the worst. I can't cry too hard or else it'll like build up in my throat and I'm like choking and spitting out. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you ever have to get your nose done after fighting, like so you could breathe again?
Actually, no. I got in a fight at a hotel once and I got headbutted right here. I don't know if you can see it's a little
Pre-fight career or post-fight career?
That was probably right when I had started training career, when I was 21.
You got headbutted?
Yeah.
It's a risky move.
Yeah, well, there was just heads flying everywhere, and I was at a hotel. It's at the Peppermint Hotel in Reno.
Gina, you lived a wild-ass life.
I know.
You seem so calm. I can't imagine you getting in so many street fights.
I know. I don't know. I never picked one. I don't pick fights. I'm not good at that, but
right.
I'm not afraid to obviously fight, you know. People don't believe that. When I tell people in the industry who don't know who I am, they're like, no, you didn't used to do that. And I'm like, yeah.
Google me, bitch.
Google me. I'm kind of a big deal, Deborah. It does feel like a lifetime ago. I miss it.
When you were thinking about coming back, I remember there was that conversation with you where there was a potential comeback fight with Rhonda.
Yeah.
How serious was that?
It was very serious.
What stopped it from happening?
So, you know how I went,
Yeah.
I'm living in LA. I used to train out of Randy Couture's in Vegas. And I had my whole group there, right? I had Scott Beery, Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know where he went. I think he's like disappeared into the woods or something. Remember?
Oh, really?
On the mat?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to own that store in Las
really?
Vegas. Yeah. Him
he's
and his
gone?
brother. I don't know where he is. He's like a mountain man now. Chris Ben Chavchavadze, he's a boxing coach. Used to be an UNLV boxing coach. Still, you'll see him. He's pretty great. So I had my whole team in Vegas. So when Dana White and Lorenzo, they invited me out finally, like, you know, this had to been like 5 years ago. They said, hey, we'd like to offer you like, you know, $1 million fight with Rhonda. And I was like, damn, what took you guys so long? Like, what I had told Dana and Lorenzo at that time was, you know, I don't have a team. I don't even have an idea of a team. I don't have a gym. I have, I don't think me and Kevin were together at that time. I didn't have any connection into, you know, where I would do this fight camp. And I knew, you know, with the weight and everything, it was going to take me it would take me 3 months to get the weight stabilized. And then it would take me 4 months to actually be in like fight camp. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just to get back into it. I hadn't fought at that time, almost like a decade. So I asked Dana if he could just please keep it quiet. You know, just don't bring up my name. You know, give me the time a 6 month time. And I, of course.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. Well,
it's not even reasonable. You really need like a year, right?
Well, yeah, but I was, you know, I felt like I could at that moment.
Right.
I felt like 6 months. Well, Dana, he was like, and I've got Gina Carano, and it's going to be against Ronda Rousey. And he started pumping it out on the, you know, Twitter, and he pumped it out in the interviews. And I was like, whoa, like, calm down. Like, first of all, I don't even know who I'm going to train with. So now you've made it harder for me to walk into a gym and just get comfortable with people because now everybody knows I'm looking for a team. I'm looking for something.
Right, and it's going to be a very high profile thing.
Yeah, and so now it made everything so much more difficult. And, you know, like that's where we didn't get along for a second. I was like, dude, like,
Right.
like quiet down. Like if you just quiet down, I can find a team and I can get organized. And then he said something pretty aggressive over text messages. I'm sure, you know, he does that. And I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to do that. Like, it was very simple for me. Like, that was going to be something for me. And I was excited to be back in that world, and I was excited to do something like that. I respect Rhonda, and I thought that was exciting. But after, like, you just can't, like, go back into that world and feel instantly disrespected on so many levels. So I was like, I'm cool, I'm going to go. And then I think another movie came up, and I was like, sweet, I'll just go do this movie then. You know, like, I don't need to be disrespected, you know. So that's how that story went.
You didn't have any inclination to have another fight? You just wanted to have the Ronda Rousey fight?
I mean, I think when you fight, you are constantly fighting. I have a bag in my, you know, downstairs in my garage. Like, I'm, you know, on the treadmill and constantly fighting people in my head and having a comeback fight all the time.
How old are you now?
I'm 40. So
Do you think you would still do it?
I mean, I still can't even say that I wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Because, you know, Rhonda said
yeah,
that
yeah.
you're the one.
I know. And honestly, I feel like she's the one as well if I wanted to, you know.
Let's go, ladies. Let's fucking go. If you wanted to do it.
Get me a dietitian because I have to either do that or chop off in my entire leg.
I'm sure there's people. She said she'd fight you at 205.
I know. You know me. Or you don't know me, but I would not. It would be an equal weighted, you know.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I know.
It would be professional.
I'm
I
sure.
have no interest in being like a...
If you wanted to do it, though, now it's like last call.
Yeah, and you know what? When she said that, I'm like, you know, I'm so focused on my dreams in movie making, but I also, I guess you just never lose that want to do it.
Right.
And for me, I've been looking for something to train for to get my body back and where I want it to be. And so there's just been this little thing on my shoulders like, well, you could train and you could get yourself where you want to be and use that as your focus for all of
Where
that.
are you living now?
I'm not going to say because of stalkers, but
But there's a gym?
there's no, not where I'm at, not right
No.
now. But I'm very mobile right now. So when I moved out of Hermosa Beach, I'm trying to get away from all the madness. Me and Kevin moved into an RV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, do you know anything about RVs?
A little bit.
So we got a Newmar, used the money from the house that we got and bought an RV, and then we went across thinking that we were going to go shoot this movie called White Knuckle in Nashville. Well, once I got to Nashville, they were like, you know, are you willing to play by the SAG rules and all of this? And they could mandate it. So I was like, what does that mean? And they said, basically, if SAG mandated the vaccines while we were shooting White Knuckle, then anybody who wasn't vaccinated would have to get vaccinated. And are you comfortable with that? And I said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. That also means that we were probably only going to hire only vaccinated people. And I thought that was like, wait, I thought I just got out of California. And so then I was like, well, shit, here we go. You know, like I was like,
Yeah.
what's the next option? And is there another option? I'm living in an RV at the moment. And they were like, yeah, the next option is we instead go with the serial killer movie. We'll put that to the side while the world kind of figures itself out, and we'll go with a non-union Western, which ended up being Terror on the Prairie. And so...
And this is the Daily Wire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
that's what ended me up in a RV. Now I'm kind of going in between places because I fell in love with Montana and I really want to end up there. But, you know...
were you there in the winter?
Yeah. Well, up through November.
Shit gets rugged in the winter.
I love...
It separates.
I'm down for that. The boys from the men, yeah.
Or the girls from the women.
Yeah. Actually, like, the women up there are so freaking, like, okay, I have to say.
They're capable.
In a very attractive way. Like, these women are still so, like, beautifully, like, they're everything that I would think a woman should be. Like, they're feminine, but they'll get on their horse, they'll go on a camping trip, they'll go, like, like hunting, they'll make their own stuff, they barter in between neighbors, and I'm like, I think that, see, that's Eye of the Beholder. I think that's really sexy. So I want to be a Montana woman. But I also want to direct, and I also want to give people like Cowboy Cerrone or like people that I can see have that magical something, and I want to continue making art and movies. So
this movie, Terror on the Prairie, this Daily Wire movie, is this going? Has it been released yet?
yes,
It's on the website.
Yeah, so you were kind of a big deal about that. They're like, we're gonna have the movie out once once Cowboy fights, which didn't happen.
Which did happen. Did crazy 2 times in a row.
I know
that
Dana
fight's been
White's just
canceled.
like it's over, it's done. We're not gonna even try anymore.
I don't know why they don't try one more time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Cowboy's gonna do what he's gonna do, but I think he really is interested in love with movie making right now.
Well,
And-
there's something about him. I mean, I watched some clips. He's so authentic, right? Like, and that comes across. Like, his face is the face of a man who's lived a hard scrabble life. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been fighting for a long fucking time. And you can see it in his nose. There's like a character in his eyes that I think would translate fantastic.
and that's what I saw. So
Yeah, look at that.
I mean, he's so not a great picture of me, but great of him. Why do I always get the awful ones? He is so.
I love that dude.
I know he is so authentic, and so they had to because I'm a producer on this movie, they had all of the auditions of all the guys come in, and and like we're watching all their tapes, and I feel like Hollywood kind of gets a little too rehearsed, which is uninteresting. Somebody's an actor, and so I just felt like, well, we're doing this Western. I've got a guy who I think would pop on film, and it was a really big, like, I had to fight for him to get this role. And they were like, well, we love his look and we love his reach, but like, how's he going to be on film? And I was like, I believe in him. I believe he's gonna kill it. And sure enough, he's such a shit too. Like, he comes to set and he just gives you like the hardest time, and it's all directed at me too. Like, he talks so much shit to me on this. I mean, the outtakes got to be so funny, but he's brilliant. Like, he's so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Just how he fights, like, he's a vulnerable person. You never know how it's gonna go sometimes. With Cowboy, what emotion he's gonna be in. With acting, he was just, one time I came to set and he was all like, just like sitting down and like glaring at me, and I'm like, what Cowboy? And he's like, nothing. And I'm like, oh, you think we're doing this scene where we're actually fighting, or we're in a fight, in like a couple's fight? I was like, that's not the scene. The scene is me and you actually getting along this time. And he was like, oh, we are? And I'm like, yeah, we get along in this scene. And all of a sudden he turns into this loving guy. And I'm like, oh God. Like, that
He's method.
He's method. He doesn't know this, but he is a little bit method.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But he's brilliant. Like, he's really good on film. And I think that I want to do that more with people,
Is this movie going to be theatrically released?
It's on the Daily Wire.
Only on the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
What about, like, is it going to be on any of the streaming platforms or anything like that?
No, what the Daily Wire is trying to do is they're trying to draw as many eyeballs to their platform. The more subscriptions they get based off of some of the stuff, the more they'll do it more. And so this is.
It's very interesting because what they're doing is they're creating a right-wing alternative. They're doing stand-up comedy, they're doing podcasts, they're doing all these different things, and
Yeah.
Ben's a pretty fucking brilliant guy.
He's amazing. Yeah.
It's really interesting, like, as a business model, like, there is a market for that. People are tired of being spoon-fed one ideology.
And the thing is, if you look at our movie, it's not political.
Yeah,
It's
just a movie.
It tried to be as, just a genuine Western. It really tries to be just what it is, a Western.
What is it like doing a film where it's going to be released in this, like, one part of the world? Because it's like that movie is not likely going to get seen by people that are on the left. It's very unusual in that it's, even though it's not a political movie, it's in kind of a political category because it's on the Daily Wire.
I think, once again, I think I'm at the beginning of something. Just with the female fighting, I was at the beginning of something, and people didn't take it seriously, and then all of a sudden we're creeping up and getting, all of a sudden now look at female fighting, right? So that is a similar feeling that I have here. And, for me, doing art is just, doing movies is just what I want to do. So it's cool. It's cool that it's a start of a big movement, and hopefully that will translate to making more people be able to have jobs, actors, and I don't think a little competition hurts anyone.
No, I mean, look, the movie's good. I mean, it's not bad for anybody.
Oh, did you watch it?
No, I haven't seen it. That's why I asked you if it was out. I didn't know it was out.
Right. Yeah, it's out.
Is it a thing where you feel like it's not like it's going to pigeonhole you into only doing movies for like right-wing people?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm really bad at staying in boxes anyways, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to my thing is art. I just want to do art. I want to make movies. I want to direct, produce. I want to, that's my love. That's my fight right now. And so however that comes about, I have gotten a bunch of offers, to be in some films, but I just don't have the energy to do things that I'm not passionate about, that I don't believe in, like the I don't believe in the story. I don't believe doing independent movies or any movie or any show takes so much work and so much out of you. You have to be ready to sit down with that job for, a year and a half, 2 years. And I just can't give myself and like exhaust myself like that unless I'm like obsessed with it. And once I'm obsessed with it, then, it'll be amazing.
So has this like slowed down the offers that you're getting, the being canceled out of The Mandalorian?
Well, as soon as I got canceled, as soon as Disney put out that, I feel like that very like awful statement that's like defamation, if anything. That same day, my UTA, my agency, dropped me.
Whoa.
Yeah, dropped me. And my 10-year-long lawyers dropped me because now no money is going to be. Yeah, I got canceled almost. I think it's one of the worst cancellations in Hollywood history, which is what everybody saw. I lost.
That is wild that your agency dropped you for that. Because this is not like what you said. If you look at what you actually said and you show it, it's not that bad.
Well, and also my agents are like, they've got James Franco. They didn't ever drop. They've got, these people have got like, they made such an example. They try to make an example out of me, and they just made an example out of themselves. Like, why did they come down so hard on me? I've got toys, these little like Mandalorian toys. They canceled them. They ripped them off the shelves. Toy companies, all for what?
Because you represented Trump.
I wasn't even representing Trump. I was representing, and I hate what I didn't like about that is like I'm representing being able to vote and have that be okay.
I know anyway. That's what you represent personally.
Yeah.
But what you represent to them was Trump.
Well, that's their problem.
But it's also they're sending a signal by getting rid of you to everybody else that doesn't support the ideology.
Yeah.
Like there's a very strong left-wing progressive ideology that's captured Hollywood.
And they just ended up showing their cards.
But do you know of anybody, I mean Chris Pratt, but other than him, who's successful that's not on board with all that shit?
I mean, a lot of people now come up to me. There's not actually anybody that didn't see what happened to me and comes up to me in person in this business and out that has been like, yeah, that was cool. They just say, man, you got railroaded and we're really sorry. Like, that sucks.
Well, you certainly did get railroaded. But what I'm saying is, like, there's not a lot of political diversity in Hollywood.
There is, but they're staying very quiet.
Yeah, but that doesn't, that's not real then.
Yeah.
Like, it's what they think of as the political ideology that's acceptable in Hollywood is like hardcore left.
Has it always been like this? Because I never knew that it was an okay to. I thought once you say that you vote, then I've been seeing I've been seeing the left like rage against this President Trump, like death threats and all of this crazy aggressive stuff, and it was completely acceptable.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I voted.
Yeah.
It's like, get her out of here. And I'm like, it's a first time vote. And I just think that, like we should all be okay with, when you sign on to be an actress, you don't sign your rights away. And I feel like that's when you feel like your country is going through a really dark phase of cancel culture that's going to lead to a social credit system that's going to lead to, people undeservingly losing their jobs and pressure and real bullying, then I feel like it's okay to say something.
It should be okay to say something. It used to be okay to be a right-wing person in Hollywood. I mean, look at Bruce Willis, look at Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Those guys were all thought of as like right-wing guys.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California as a Republican.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Gray
Why did I
Davis got
think
recalled.
that-
Gray
okay.
Davis got recalled. Arnold took over, and
Why
he was
did
a
I think-
Republican.
Oh, I thought he was a Democrat. Oh, okay.
No,
He
was
is now, though. He's a massive,
He's an actor.
yeah.
You know, that's what he is. He's like, you know, you like when he was like, "Fuck your freedoms."
Oh, yeah, that
like
was
that.
awful.
Like, come on,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of old people.
yeah.
Old people get goofy. They
yeah.
get scared. Like they got real scared with the vaccines and the
Yeah.
masks and all that stuff. And
And
you know,
that's okay.
because it's more of an existential threat to them. It's a real threat to them. As opposed to like 22-year-old people did not freak out too much about COVID. 22-year-old gym rats were not like freaking out about COVID,
Yeah.
right? Because those are the least vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like who's the most vulnerable? Older folks.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy like him.
And I still don't think, like, you know, Whoopi Goldberg came out and said something super aggressive on The View about the Holocaust and about Jewish people, and it was like far more like crazy aggressive than anything.
But I don't think it was aggressive. It was just ignorant.
It was just that was not
Factually incorrect.
right. And
Like
you know what she got?
provably factually, she got suspended for a couple weeks.
She got a slap on the hand.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not trying to call myself Whoopi Goldberg or anything,
Right.
but
I know what you're saying.
you know, like there's the rules are not applying to
Right.
both sides, basically.
No, they're
And-
definitely not.
And they're showing us that, and it's pretty aggressive. And I think that, you know, there is room for healing. I'd hope so, or else we're just going to stay in this like hateful place. So I'd hope that people start breaking down what's really going on here and learn to have conversations. And I do think that by Trump, you know, not having the ability to, you know, act like presidential hurt in a way that we need to see our leaders be able to embrace the conversation, embrace debating. And it's like, I mean, it's funny as hell. I think he was hilarious. But when he's sitting there like calling, you know, in the debates, he's like calling names, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's not really setting an example of like how we can debate, how we all need to be talking together. So that I think was a problem. But I also think, geez, man, like what they were coming after him with, like, just wasn't gonna. If he didn't say the aggressive stuff that he did he even have a chance in hell of surviving that? I don't know.
When you get to a certain point, you know, I think there's a problem in this country when you can't have differing opinions. We have to be able to debate and have differing opinions. But someone like Trump is so polarizing that he makes having an opinion that's different. Like if you have an opinion that's different than what the Democrats have or the left-wing people have, you're connected to Trump. Like that's the problem with Trump. The problem with Trump is not even necessarily his policy. The problem is his personality.
Right.
And the way you can't have that kind of personality and be a leader. You can't be a leader that battles people on Twitter and calls like your ex-girlfriend horseface. Like that is not. It's funny. It's
Who did
funny.
he do that to?
One of them ladies that was accusing him of having sex.
I look at
Stormy Daniels.
I look at what we're going through now, and I look back at some of his interviews, and I think he was a comedian. He's
He's
hilarious.
definitely a comedian. He's got great timing.
And I also think that what he did was he broke the back of major news media. I think that should be one of his proudest points, is that he broke them over his knee. And he should be very proud of that.
Well, he definitely exposed the holes in the way they do it.
Yeah.
That strategy that they have of just only relying on him as a bad guy and attacking him for ratings.
Yeah.
When you saw when he got out of office and CNN's ratings dropped like 40% instantly, it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, MSNBC, same deal.
It's gonna be like that for a long time. So I just
Maybe.
didn't think it was. Who knows? Who knows what he was dealing with, right? Like,
Do you get offers now to do like mainstream movies again, or has it come back around at all?
it's not really, because I don't have that agency. There's been
Do you have another agency now?
no. I'm kind of just rolling solo for a little bit. I'm a little bit scarred from
Yeah.
the system. I do think it'd be nice to find somebody to kind of field some of these calls, but for right now, I'm really focused on creating and owning content myself. You know, so things have a way of working themselves out. I'm not like, I'm not too worried about it. I just know I want to be surrounded with better people in the future, people that aren't just gonna, jump ship the second,
Yeah.
That made them kind of look bad more than anything. So
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's also there's a fucking real problem when someone can't express an opinion in a clumsy way.
Yeah.
Because that's part of being a human being, especially part of being a human being who's not a professional speech maker.
Right.
Like
right.
it's not like you wrote all that stuff down and
No.
thought about it and vetted it and then posted it on Instagram. No, it's just like you with your phone.
You're right.
Saying, hey, we're kind of fucked right now. And this used to be bad. Like, this is how people used to treat people in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And like,
So it's
kill
not-
her! It's like, hey.
What'd you get canceled for? Telling neighbors not to
Not
hate
to
each
fight.
other.
Yeah, not to hate each other because of differing opinions.
What I also like to do on my social media is I like to put out memes. I like to put out quotes. I like to put out things that a lot of the media would put on me what they thought I meant by it. When in reality, I mean, because they wrote that up as, conservatives are. She's comparing herself to. She's comparing conservatives to the Jewish people in the Holocaust. That's not how I read that. And all of them wrote up the articles on that said that's what I was doing. What I was saying is, let's maybe talk to each other, and so it doesn't get to a place that's
The idea that it can't get to a place like that again is so ignorant. People are so silly.
I know.
This mindset that we're past the Holocaust. We're not if you're in North Korea. We're not if you're in China and you're a Uyghur Muslim.
Right.
We're not. There's parts of the world right now that are under the thumb of a horrendous dictatorship.
Well, look at Canada.
Yeah, it's
Holy
wild.
shit! Like, you can't be a trucker in Canada, and you can't.
Well, you can. You can't. You just have to do everything Trudeau says.
Oh man.
Or you're a misogynist and a racist.
Oh man.
When he said that, a lot of them are racist and misogynists. Like, well, show me some fucking evidence.
Yeah.
Like, you're just saying that because they don't want you to be able to enforce medical mandates.
Dude, the way that guy talks, okay.
He creeps me out.
I can't. I would do a fight 100 in 3 months with that man.
Have you ever seen the fucking photos of him?
Him fighting?
Comparison to Castro.
Oh yeah.
The big rumor
Yeah.
is that his mother slept with Castro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get out of here. And then you see pictures of him next to Castro at various stages of Castro's life and his
Yeah.
life. And you're like, holy
I know.
shit. If that's not true, what a coincidence. Have you seen it, Jamie?
We should definitely bring.
Yeah, pull up the photos comparing Justin Trudeau to Castro.
I just don't like the way he talks. The way he talks is like, well, just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, man. Like,
No, he's a fake smart person. That's what he is. He's a fake smart person.
I hope it's coming to him though.
Like, there's a series of images that show him next to Castro. Yeah, that's a good one. Like, look at that. I mean, what the fuck? How much more evidence do you need? Make that a little bit bigger. Listen,
Oh my
if I was a betting
gosh.
man,
Look at that.
if I was a betting man, I'm pushing all my fucking chips in on the Castro. Well, come on. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, maybe it's a coincidence. We investigated those damning rumors about Fidel Castro being Justin Trudeau's real dad. 2018, they did this.
Aren't they losing like the power of press there as
What's
well?
that? 2016. Oh. I mean,
Like, I feel really awful for what Canada.
oh yeah.
He's going through.
I have a lot of friends in Canada trying to get out now.
I mean, people are escaping, right?
Yeah, they're trying to get out. Well, they were under the they were under a medical apartheid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Apartheid is like forced separation.
And they did the most, and here's, so the truckers went out, and it was obviously like they had bouncy, jumpy gyms, and they had their children out, and it was obvious that they weren't going to burn down any cities, right? And I think that that's where I kind of like, I learned something with the protests that were happening with the BLM riots and everything. I was like, oh, okay, so this is why they do that. This is why this happens, is to put the fear of God in the government, right? So they weren't, the Canadian government was not worried about these truckers burning down
but
anything.
he was worried about it looking bad and losing power and then losing elections. That's what he was worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point there is kind of like, I was a little bit unaware of why people would do that, and cause such a scene and hurt so much, of these cities. And now I understand why they do it. Not to say that I would ever encourage that, but I understand why. Because after just looking at the trucker movement and how disrespected they got, it was like, dude, if they were a bigger threat down there, that wouldn't have been the case.
you know, who knows? I mean, Canada is very different than the United States because it's much harder to get a firearm, much harder to get a handgun.
Even harder now.
Yeah.
Which for me is like, God, like I feel safer with my guns. You know, I don't have the money for all that security that they have. I have to, you know, feel comfortable and safe.
Well, that's what's crazy. It's like they have armed guards. If you really think that no one should have a gun, then maybe your guard shouldn't have guns either.
Right.
Like, and by the way, criminals are still going to have the guns, but your guards won't.
Right.
Because that's how it goes when you change laws like that.
Right.
I mean, you would want to stop mass shootings. Everybody wants to stop mass shootings.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want to keep guns out of the hands of crazy people. Everybody wants to keep guns out of the hands of crazy people. But when you're doing a thing because you think that the ideology that you support wants to do that thing, whether or not it's rational or reasonable, like if you say everyone has to give their guns up, that's it. But this country's had enough. Criminals are not going to do that. And we all know that.
Right.
And if you say that, people get angry at you. Like, you're a part of the problem. Like, no, I'm just being honest.
Right.
This is just my honest assessment of what I think criminals do. They generally break laws. And when you have a law that says that you can't have a gun anymore, that's 100% a law they're going to break.
Right. Right. Well, they're going to create a lot more criminals, let's just say, because a lot of people aren't going to give up their
That too.
guns.
You're going to make criminals. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, look, it's a scary time for this country, but through scary times is how we sort things out and figure out what we should and shouldn't be doing.
And so I feel like what should we do then? We should have definitely more conversations like this, but what else can we do? Because I feel like I'm always complaining. I'm never offering enough.
Time will sort it out.
No.
That's going to happen.
Well,
through social media and through what's going on here, but through brave people, you know, through brave people like yourself, people that have to have these conversations, maybe forced into these conversations. If Elon Musk buys Twitter, that will have a massive impact.
Do you think it's happening?
I think it's happening. Yeah. That will have a massive impact because
I feel like me and Elon Musk are in this really fun little like meme war that he doesn't know about.
You're in a meme war?
No, not war. But like he puts out a meme and like because my name's been associated with his a lot as people who like are standing up against this thing. So I'm always like.
Are there memes with you guys together?
No, memes like who's got the best like meme kind of thing. I'm sure like the rest of Twitter thinks that they're in that kind of competition as well. But we should tell Elon Musk I'm in a meme battle with you to see.
The problem with Twitter is they without doubt have shadow banned people. They without doubt have silenced people. They without doubt have banned people for having a different ideology than they do. And they without doubt let people say horrendous, awful things to people that are conservative because they think it's okay.
Yeah.
Because they're not even in the way they decide what is acceptable or unacceptable. It definitely crosses ideological boundaries. Like there's an ideological box that you can operate in where you can say some pretty fucking horrendous shit. But if you say horrendous shit to people that you think are against trans rights, you could say that.
Right.
If you say horrendous shit to people that are anti-vaccine, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to mock their deaths. You're allowed to hope they die. You're allowed to say all kinds of terrible things.
You're allowed to let it trend on Twitter and take somebody's job. I mean, I worked 10 years in fighting and I worked 10 years in acting. I never have had a handout. I've never compromised myself. I've done nothing but like show up to set and absolutely give every part of me to that movie or that show and with my full heart, you know. Meanwhile, I've got co-stars that aren't even allowed to come to set unless they have 2 security guards. I mean, the shit I've seen, like I'm a good person to work with. And because I didn't toe the line in the narrative, I lose everything and I have to start from scratch. And
well, you could probably have said what you said at any other time in history, and people would have kind of understood what you were doing. But post-Trump, the world is like if you said that in 2014, I think people would have disagreed with you on certain aspects of it. Maybe people would have complained, but I don't think you would have gotten fired. I think it's a post-Trump reality.
Yeah, and I think we need to, like when I was voting, I didn't like the word. I didn't like the word Trumper. You know what I mean? I felt like that was kind of counterproductive to I'm voting conservative. And it's nothing against Trump. It's just I felt like it was counterproductive to like, you know, oh, okay, you're Democrat, you're Republican. Once you start putting these like names on people, it becomes like they become less human, and you're
Right.
able to demonize them more. And that's something that I feel like I was like, let's not call each other, I don't think Biden's, or I hate
They don't have one.
They don't.
They don't have one for Biden.
They
Was
don't.
there an Obama-er? Well, there was not like Obama people.
Well, see, when Obama came into power, I was like, that's cool, like he seems like he's a well-spoken,
Yeah.
dude that's like gonna, because I didn't know anything about politics, so I didn't know how he was affecting the world, and so I didn't start paying attention. I was just happy that,
He was a statesman. He's
Yeah.
a perfect representative of what you want from a president.
yeah. So I didn't even vote in the Hillary Clinton and the Trump, the first one. I was like, I'm not popping my cherry there. I'm not popping my cherry on that vote. Like, I'm just gonna stay out of that. Like, it didn't seem like a good idea. But when it came to the Biden and Trump, I was like, our country is gonna be so hurting after we get done locking it down like we did, and all of the emotions and all of this. We need a powerful person to bring us back. And like, I don't understand, like, they're trying to push all of this agenda stuff that is really collapsing our economy right now. The Biden administration is like, he could have really just brought back the country and then done that. Like, why? Like, he's hitting us hard 2 times, like the recovery from COVID-19, and then like switching everything over into, this, green energy agenda, right? So it's like we're getting hit twice with like the gas and everything. It's like we're getting hit so hard. He could have like made himself a hero, come back, bring the economy back.
I don't think he has, and I think he has very little to do with what happens day to day.
So
I
there's
think
somebody behind it.
There's probably
with
quite a few
plan,
people.
and
No,
it's on
there's
purpose.
people that are doing it because it's profitable for them. It's beneficial for them, and they're realizing now that it's not, right? This is one of the reasons why they're trying to move closer to the center, and because they're realizing that this sort of radical left ideology is pushing more people to the right, because it really is.
Who are these people, do you think?
What people?
The people you're talking about.
The people that are in control of everything. These are what you would call deep state. These are lifelong politicians that don't get elected, that are, they're not really politicians. They're people in government positions. Like, if you think about anybody in the intelligence agencies, people that are in the Pentagon, these people, they don't get elected. This is not like people you get to vote for. You don't get to vote for who decides to take us to,
Or
well, you kind of do in that it's a president. The president is the commander in chief, but the influencers, the people that step in and try to manipulate things to get us to do one thing or the other thing based on the amount of money that they're getting from these special interest groups.
And so these people, are they heads of corporations, or are they?
There's a lot of that too.
Yeah,
there's a lot
so
of that
like-
too. There's a lot of the pharmaceutical drug companies, oil companies, energy companies. What they're trying to do is maximize their profits, right? That's what all these companies that are, if there's no reason for them to be investing in politicians if it's not profitable.
In the World Economic Forum, then?
That's bizarre. That's the most bizarre one. The fucking dude who dresses like Darth Vader. Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum.
He can be in one of my movies. He
That
can bring his own
motherfucker.
wardrobe.
That motherfucker is wild. He's like a bad guy in a movie.
Well, and then you can have Justin Trudeau and Gavin Newsom right there with him,
Yeah.
and it's like you got a
This is
full
an
on.
opportunity for the great reset.
Do you believe in the Great Reset?
I don't know what it means. I mean, he wrote a book on it. It's a real thing. It's a real idea.
Yeah.
What does it mean, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd really have to go deep into the economics of it to understand it.
That'll be the
And
next
that,
book.
That seems like I'm exhausted already just thinking about doing that. I think these motherfuckers want to control as much as they can. And I think they would love to have a digital currency that's centralized, a controllable digital currency like they have in China, attached to a social credit score. So if they have a social credit score system, they can decide, hey, Gina, you're stepping out of line.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be able to buy a house.
Yeah.
And they'll deny you a loan. And that is the kind of shit that is 100% going on right now in
And
China.
so how do we like let's offer some options. Like, how do we
Well,
shake
I
free
think
of
that's
this?
one of the reasons why they hate things like crypto.
And you.
Because
And me.
cryptos and you and me, yeah. Cryptocurrencies are decentralized, and the government doesn't have control over them. They can't decide if everyone is buying computers and cars and stuff with Bitcoin. The government has no control over that. They can't control what it costs. They can't control how you use it, where it's stored. You're storing it on a phone. It's fucking just it's it's out there in the world somewhere. It's not even a physical thing like gold coins, like you can keep in Fort Knox.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not based on anything. If they could figure out a way to have a centralized digital currency, they could control people much better. Decentralized things, whether it's decentralized podcasts, decentralized cryptocurrency, that kind of stuff scares the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like the internet. The internet, what the internet is it changed the battleground because everybody gets to compete. Now, what you're seeing that's negative about that is like all these people that comment on Twitter and all these mean people that are posting things and all the weird and people ganging up on people. See, that's the negative aspect. This is where human instincts get involved in this revolutionary, groundbreaking technology, which is the ability to communicate for everybody instantaneously all around the world. So when human beings with our fucking goofy instincts get involved in this, you're going to see chaotic things like that. You're going to see gangs of people bullying people. You're going to see pylons. You're going to see virtue signaling. You're going to see all the weird shit that you see right now.
And I think you're going to see these companies and government, and I think you're going to see them employ some bots, which is why I think what Elon Musk is trying to do and get rid of the bots is so important.
It's very important.
Because what happens is, and I have a whole email to these publicists, I was like, do you guys see what's happening? What's happening is I'm getting attacked from bots employed by who knows, a company, I believe. And they employ the bots, and then the bots kind of grab a hold of the younger generation, and they manipulate the younger generation into, the trans rights and all of this, and we're going to fire this, and, fire Gina Carano all of a sudden is in a hashtag. And none of these are like real accounts, but then they start to become real accounts with these younger generation. Then, of course, Hollywood's always looking at the younger generation. It's like Hollywood's so afraid to grow old. It's like they're always constantly like living through the younger generation. So then that makes it to the Hollywood news. Once it made it to the Hollywood news, now, it's going to make it to the major news. And the publicist would tell me, so like just something ridiculous, like, well, Gina, this Vanity Fair article isn't a great look. And then I'd be like, well, let me show you who wrote that. And I'd go check the girl's Twitter, and I'm like, this girl tweeted 3 weeks before this article came out that she was going to, on purpose, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to say something, and she's a writer for, I believe it's Vanity Fair. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's going to be great. Meaning she's going to sabotage me in some way. And so then the day my episode came out in Mandalorian season 1, the day my first episode came out, her article comes out. And there's this like calculated attack coming from, Lucasfilm employees, coming from Disney, manipulating
because
children.
they connected you with Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That you became the bad person. You became a representative of the Trump army because you were a conservative. So if you're a conservative, you're the bad.
Trump wasn't even.
I'm not saying it's logical. I'm not defending it. But this is just an aspect of human behavior that gets filtered through this revolutionary, sort of groundbreaking technology.
It's heartbreaking that people.
But also, you get to do this. Also, this is also a part of the revolutionary, groundbreaking technology. You get to express yourself like this.
Yeah.
Where no one's telling you what you can and can't say.
Yeah.
You could 100% express yourself. That is the good side of revolutionary, groundbreaking technology.
Yeah.
Is that people like,
until they censor this whole entire thing.
They're not censoring shit. Listen, you get through.
Yeah.
Stuff gets through, and it ultimately, all of it gets sorted out in the wash.
So you feel like it's just time that's going to take everybody to wiggle free a little bit and start fighting back?
There's going to be people that never fight back. There's going to be people that dig their heels in. There's going to be people that fucking get Pfizer tattoos. There's a bunch of pussies out there. There's a lot of people out there that are cowards. And the moment things get weird, they fall apart.
It was really strange to see some of these rock stars like Howard Stern and some people that fought so hard during their day about like freedoms and stuff and, freedom of speech and all of this to kind of turn around and be like, let's send them all to the Mississippi River and drown them or whatever he said. It's like, what?
It's a cautionary tale. That's what it is. It's
You're going to slap me right in the face if you see me 10 years from now and I'm like...
I'm not going... It's not going to be you, but there's going to be people that you live long enough, your heroes will become villains.
Yeah.
A lot of people just fall apart. It's character. Some people have some character. They got a little character. And then when things get real, they fall apart.
What do you think you're going to be in 10 years?
Hopefully, I'll be right here. I like the spot. Hopefully I'll be right here talking shit.
Yeah.
As long as I can keep my health. As long as I keep working out, keep eating well and taking vitamins and being smart. It's I think I'll evolve my thoughts, but my principles in terms of like the way I look at things, of being as brutally honest as possible and as nice as I can be. Those things are very important to me. The opinions that you have will evolve and change over time because information evolves and changes. You change. Your perspective is different. But I'm always going to be honest about my perspective. And, I might be wrong about things, but I'll tell you when I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I always want to come in and go, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah.
This is wrong, and this is why I thought it was that way. And I will never lie. I will never lie on purpose. I will never, go out of my way to say things that are untrue, to paint a different picture of the world, or a picture of the world that will satisfy some company I'm working with.
Right.
Or I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
And I don't have to. So I'm just going to keep doing this.
I think that's why people really are drawn to you. And I don't do this a lot, but this has been, really nice. I have to do a couple more after this, but then I kind of want to. I think people know where I stand. That where I've stood in the last year. And by the way, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that. I was hoping I was wrong about a lot of stuff. It's not that I sat there in my phone and thought, I can't wait. I can't wait to, people start getting vaccine injured, to prove me right. Like, I really wanted to be wrong about a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing now about the economy. I was even, just hoping that Biden would just destroy, okay, awesome, let's get back on track. But I just, I'm proud of myself for the last 2.5 years. I can't wait to move forward and not have to talk about this cancellation, stuff. I can't wait to get back into art and really just, sink into all of that and disappear into it. But for the moment, I think it's been important, and I hope that more and more people understand, even if we have opposing views. Patricia Arquette, I think you're phenomenal. It's okay for us to exist.
She thinks you stormed the Capitol.
I know. People ask me, and I'm like, what? Where were you?
There's a thing that happens to older women in Hollywood, and I'm just saying this in general. I'm not saying this about Patricia Arquette, because there's multiple examples of girls who were really pretty when they were young, and then they get older and they become the most uninformed activists. The weirdly uninformed, goofy Twitter activists.
I know. I'm like, where are you finding the time?
Because they don't have a fucking life.
What do you wake up in the morning and I look at my verified ones to,
go look at Alyssa Milano's tweets.
Oh, Lord.
It's out of her fucking mind.
Oh.
But this is what happens to these people. They need something real, some real fight, some real cause, some real thing, and it's probably inside their own head.
Yeah.
The real battle is probably in their own mind.
I know. That's what I felt like. I felt like I entered a conversation. Something popped up on the news feed, and it was in the middle of a conversation she was having with herself. And my article just popped up.
Meanwhile, if you sat down and talked with her, I bet you'd probably have a reasonable conversation if she's not completely crazy.
I bet we'd have a full bottle of wine, and we'd sit there and laugh, and we'd have some similar stories, and we'd have some very different point of views, and it would be fun, and I think it would be amazing.
And if you couldn't, I bet it'd be on her.
What do you mean?
If you couldn't have that kind of a peaceful, civil conversation, I bet it would be on her. I don't think it would be you.
Yeah.
I think you're a nice person. I think you'd listen to her. I think you'd talk to her.
I'm interested, actually. Please, talk to me about your perspective. I really want to understand.
That's what we need in this world. That's what we need in this world. We need people talking to people, but also talking to people without an agenda. Just be honest, be open. We can disagree, but I want to know why you think the way you think.
Yeah.
You know, don't just demonize people. They're a bunch of Trumpers or this or that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Yeah. I didn't vote for Trump.
You
I didn't vote for Trump. No, I voted for Joe Jorgensen because I thought this. But people were calling me a Trump supporter because I said I wouldn't vote for Biden because I knew exactly what was going to happen.
And
exactly
it's
what
what's
you're
happening.
seeing.
Right.
This is what I called. And I said his cabinet's going to be responsible for everything. He's not going to be able to do anything. I'm like, he is deteriorating rapidly, and the stress of being in office is going to be way worse. I go, I'd vote for Trump before I'd vote for Biden. That's what I said. But I didn't say I was going to vote for Trump because I didn't.
And it's not, can I have a little more whiskey?
Hell yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting there wanting to make fun of an old man. By the way, I have so much respect for the elderly, the last thing you want to see is like a freaking old man.
Falling down on his bike.
Yes, it was so sad. I hate that. Although I feel like there's,
you know what's sad to me?
I feel like there's been
Children in
enough.
third world
Yeah.
countries that can't get
Oh
any
my gosh,
food.
you sound like Kevin.
That's what's sad to me.
that's-
Biden falling on his bike is
I like that.
hilarious. It was fucking funny. You know
Well,
why? Because he didn't even get hurt.
It wouldn't
So
be.
It was funny.
It wouldn't be so sad. I would probably be a lot more sad if I didn't feel like the entire family is just like a crime, like just
Oh, yeah.
completely like sold out America to
Yeah.
other countries. So I would feel more sad. But it's not like I wanted to see, I didn't want to see this happen to an elderly, person. And to be honest, in the future, I think I would really like to see a younger president who has the energy and the drive and the passion, I would really like to see, that kind of person that really has the intentions of bringing conversation to the table. You've interviewed Tulsi a bunch of times.
I love Tulsi.
She's incredible.
She'd be an amazing president.
I think. Can you imagine if she was our vice president, right? If she was, we'd be like, oh, we can't wait. Like,
Yeah.
he's done.
Push him off a cliff.
Oh, great. That's going to be trending. Joe Rogan, push him off a cliff.
That's not. I was saying that in jest, ladies and gentlemen. Only in jest.
Was behind
No.
the bicycle incident.
She's unusual in that they keep trying to label her right wing too. She was literally a Democratic congresswoman for 8 years.
Yeah.
She was a Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii, a woman of color, served and was deployed overseas twice in medical units. So dealing with people that are blown up. She's a great person.
She's amazing.
She's be an amazing leader.
And Ron DeSantis is.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they're
Can we just
scared
get-
of her.
let's
They're
get that
fucking.
group
They're so
together.
scared of her that she has all the qualities they want. You want a woman president? There you go. You want a woman of color? There you go. You want a woman who's a veteran? There you go.
There you go.
You want
Yeah.
someone who served in government, was a congresswoman? There you go.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
got all
meanwhile,
these
you've got
things.
Kamala looking like she's got some sort of like secret gun held to her head to where she can't even like, her sentences just go round and round.
They're
I'm like,
great.
She makes
It's
me.
about the passage of time. It's about time and passing time.
It's not
And that's
fun.
why we have watches. We have watches because otherwise, how would you know how much time has passed? Time is a fleeting time type thing that only happens when time passes. If you just sit there, so let's be good to each other with time.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
That's better than hers. That's better than her writing.
Yeah, that's way
that
better
lady
than
just
hers.
wings it. She's just winging it.
No, do you think she wings it, or do you think that she's?
Oh.
I
Deer in
think
the headlights.
she looks scared.
She should be scared.
She looks absolutely petrified.
She should be scared that they don't dig up her record and find out what she actually has done.
Yeah.
To find
Yeah.
out what she's done to all those people that she kept in jail longer than they
Mm-hmm.
were supposed to be released, to use them as cheap labor for the state to fight wildfires.
Yep.
But all the people that she
That
tried.
was my friend, actually.
Really?
Well, yeah, he was in one of those prisons, I think.
Yeah. Look, that lady laughed about whether or not she'd smoked marijuana after she put people in jail for it.
Yeah.
There's some fucking evil shit that's involved in that kind of lack of compassion for human beings that she displayed.
And if we had a Tulsi right there, I don't think it would be a question. I think everybody would be like, great, okay,
Yeah.
next.
Well,
Okay.
when Tulsi sank Kamala Harris during the debate,
So sweet.
holy shit.
Dude, that was sexy.
That was sexy.
Yeah.
Well, they thought that Kamala was going to be the one, and Tulsi was like, hang on a second,
Oh.
because here's what's real. And when she said that, people were like, what the fuck, is that real? And then they
Yeah.
started Googling it, and that was the end.
Yeah.
That was the end. She literally fell out of candidacy right then until, and then meanwhile, she was like, the stuff that she said about Biden when he was running against her was horrible.
Yeah.
But then she's like, it was a campaign. Did you see that interview she did
No.
with Colbert?
No.
She's like, it was a campaign.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're allowed to say things you don't believe during
I mean,
a campaign?
that's all
well,
they
fucking
ever do, right?
cut me out then. I'll
Yeah.
never do that.
They needed somebody that wouldn't overtake Biden, and she's not overtaking him. I think Biden, with all of what he's been involved in, and his son, and his brother, I think with all of there's no way that there shouldn't have been like some sort of massive impeachment trial by now.
But they're keeping that shit out of the news.
Because they don't want Kamala to be next. So I think both the Republicans and Democrats were like, we don't want
Jesus
that next, so
Christ.
we're just going to like hang out for a couple
he's
years.
not going to make it, though. He's not going to make it. The way
Well-
I described him, I go, he's like going for a long walk in the woods with a battery with a weak I fucked it up.
Oh, do it again. No, wait. Do it again.
again.
You got to do it again.
The way I said it said Biden is like going for a long walk in the woods with a flashlight with a weak battery.
Oh,
like you're not going to make it.
And he's taking America.
Well, I said it the other
with
way
him.
though. I said it's like going on having a flashlight with a weak battery and going for a long walk in the woods. But that's what it's like. It's like you knew going in that what he is like this old guy who is clearly suffering from some signs of deterioration.
He's been
Whether or not
suffering
he
that
could-
for a decade, he said.
Well, he's had multiple brain surgeries.
Yeah.
He had aneurysms, like serious, where they have to take the top of your head out and like drain blood and then screw it back in place.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then he's got a stutter too, which fucks him up even worse. So like, and people think he's dumb just because he has this stutter. It's like it's a disaster.
And like, yeah, it
And
wouldn't
then
be.
we're almost in a nuclear war with Russia. You know, Russia. There was some
Russia's
article I was reading
thriving
yesterday.
right now, aren't they? So what
No.
happened with it?
No,
They're not. They're not thriving.
No, no.
Oh, I thought
no,
I thought their
no,
economy
no.
was like good in their.
No,
okay.
Their economy's fucked right now because of
is
the
it?
embargoes. Yeah,
Okay.
because we're the sanctions. We're
That's some
imposing sanctions
misinformation
on
I've
them.
been getting then, because I feel like, you know, like they're looking at Russia and they're like, okay, they're fine. We're the ones that are suffering, but they're suffering as well.
We are suffering, but they're suffering too. The sanctions are fucking up the whole world. It's a scary thing when the whole world is looking at this one superpower that decides to invade another sovereign country, and no one knows what to do, and everyone's worried that China's going to do it to Taiwan.
Yeah.
So it's just like, let's stand by and see what happens.
China
thing.
just didn't like today or yesterday they had like the largest fleet of planes like yet circle around Taiwan or something like that.
Oh, great!
I know.
What fun!
I know.
Yeah. So all this stuff is happening while we have a dead man as a president.
Yeah.
You know, it's just. Are
you throwing out any?
It's not fun.
Any support towards anyone, or are you going to hold off and? Because
For
I know,
who?
didn't Elon Musk come out recently for DeSantis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Ron DeSantis would work as a good president. I mean, what he's done for Florida has been admirable.
Look, I feel like I'm doing breaking news right now.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on purpose.
I feel like what he did for Florida, a lot of people gave him a lot of grief, but ultimately he was correct.
He was
He was
amazing.
correct when it comes to like deaths. He was correct when it comes to protecting our vulnerable populations. He was correct in terms of distribution of monoclonal antibodies, and he was furious when the government tried to pull those. They were trying to pull very effective treatments. You know, he is not perfect. He's a human being, but what he's done is stand up for freedoms. And people think that so there's some weird gaslighting shit that went on where people equated freedom and saying the word freedom to like right-wing bigotry and hate is so strange.
Well, it was also American flags. So it was like if you had an American flag on your truck, you know, living in California.
That one we have right there.
Right.
People were saying that I was a right-wing person because I had that one behind. It's over there now. No, we have the sign. But that was the one that was behind
Why
me.
do you hate America, Joe?
Why do you hate America? That fucking sign, I love that flag. I love that flag, and that used to be the background of the show.
It got like it's like Trumpers.
Demonized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, those same people are now complaining about January 6th, and you know, say like it's just really weird. It's really weird, like the back and forth that goes on here. So like they're burning flags, a bunch of they're pro burning flags, and then now they're pro flag. But then they still associate it with Trumpers, and it's just like
They're pro flag if you're like a diversity flag. You have to have a good flag.
Oh.
You have to have a pride flag, or you have to have a BLM flag,
many
or you have to have
flags.
a fucking hammer and sickle. People are out of their minds.
Yeah.
And most people, what happens is they have like this narrow band of information they attach all of their ideas to, and then they join a tribe. And that tribe enforces all of these ideas. And if you step outside those lines, if you say, you know, I actually think Trump's kind of funny, get
Yeah.
the fuck out of here. And they'll push you into the desert.
I know.
You'll starve without us.
I do
And they-
think
they-
Trump is kind of funny. I
He's
will
funny.
say it.
He's
You can
funny. He
cancel
makes me
all day
laugh.
long. He's hilarious.
When he called Kim Jong-il Little Rocket Man, I was fucking crying. I was fucking crying. The dude's a wild man.
Oh my gosh! And then like, you know, you kind of look back at some of the stuff he's saying, and you're just like, I can't.
He's a wild man.
Yeah.
He makes me laugh.
He makes me
Look,
laugh, too.
I think if he wasn't president, I'd probably love him.
Yeah, I've never met him
It's
in
hilarious.
person.
He used to be in every rap song. They used to rap about him all the time.
Yeah.
People were always rapping about him.
Yeah.
I think come 2024, by the time the election is rolling around, people are going to be so sick of the way everything is going. He has a very legitimate shot of winning again. And I think people are going to be so tired of the way this administration's handling things. They're going to want any kind of change. And there's also a great compilation video of him calling exactly all the moves that have happened. Him saying exactly what the ramifications of the Biden administration's policies are going to be for gas prices, what they're going to do. They're going to come for your guns. He said exactly the things that are absolutely happening now. He's talking about gas is going to be $5 a gallon, and it is.
Yes,
$7 a gallon.
He said $5, $6, $7 a gallon, and here we are.
Here we are. Exactly. The economy's going to tank.
Yeah. Holy shit, he was so right.
He was
on
100%
so many,
right.
And like the Russian hoax and all the stuff that he was saying, that is what I appreciated. I was like, finally we don't have like a politically correct guy in there, and he's actually telling us like what's going on.
If COVID didn't happen, the economy would have been booming, and he would have got reelected.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah,
I don't think Biden would have had a chance.
Yeah,
if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, that's where the really crazy conspiracy theory people come into play, because they think that they released the virus on purpose. I might be. I think I am. I'm trying to like leave you out of this so you don't get more hate mail.
I really honestly, I'll say this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, I think what happened, I think the timing of everything was really awkward. I think that the blinders for me was, I feel like America's heart got broken this last, so a lot of us that were so oblivious to what was happening, it's like somebody pulled down the blinders and they went up and it was like, oh my gosh, like now I don't trust anything. You know what I mean? So
right.
I might be a little bit extreme when it comes to that, because I just started paying attention in 2020. So I'm like, this, and I hate to see fellow Americans, like I hate to see their heart broken the way mine's been broken, and understanding that like, oh my gosh, so much has been a lie. Yeah. And that crushes me. So I really just have a bit of trust issues when it comes to, the timing of things. I have trust issues when it comes to all of it, but I have to say my heart is still open. I'm not, damaged. I'm not bitter. My heart is open. I just need to understand and keep having conversations and keep watching how things play out. And
we have a real problem, and one of the real problems is the representatives that we have in this country are disingenuous and really bad at it.
Yeah.
They come across as being these weird artificial people that talk like this and use like hand gestures that everyone else uses because they think it's the way to say it.
Yeah.
Have you seen this new White House press secretary talking about how the economy is in the best shape it's ever been?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
This is what I love, is when they get the like thing out, which they got from that Kaylee chick, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like looking through it, knowing damn well they're like, shit, where is, like, okay, we don't have that answer yet. And they just keep going through their paper. And it's
Jen Psaki was better at it than this new girl. This new girl is new, and she's got to learn on the job.
Jen Psaki was really good at what she did.
It's good, really good at bullshitting.
I did not like to watch her. The way she talked down to people.
Condescending.
It was so disgusting to me, but she was really good at doing that.
Well, it's a battle, and that's what's unfortunate about it. It's not a real conversation about facts. It's a battle to try to win each conversation that you have with these people that are in the audience.
And now this
Every
girl,
question, and this girl's, she's not qualified.
She's not qualified.
She's not doing good at it.
But I think
but
maybe
you can't
in
lie
a way,
like that.
Maybe in a way, it's coming off better for them because she's not so confrontational. And so maybe it's making that she really looks like a gentle little cute little soul back.
But do you see Don Lemon even questioned her?
Yeah.
Like, is the president going to be able to run? We shouldn't even be having this question, Don.
You're asking me
I
this
can't
question?
even keep up with him. I can't keep up with him. Then you need to go to a doctor, okay? Because you're young and healthy. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't keep up with him.
I know. It's just lies. They're just lying.
It's just a lie. But that's what I'm saying.
Kaylee McKinney, that's how you say her name. She was
a
such
killer.
a
She was
stud.
the best. She was the best
Such
at
a freaking stud. I miss watching her.
And even the way she was confrontational was pretty pleasant.
Yeah. And then she threw in a little dig every once in a while. It was so great.
It was great. She was great at it.
And why is Peter, what's his name?
Peter Ducey?
Yeah, Ducey.
Yeah.
Why is he like the only guy that's asking any questions in there? Or are they starting to?
I don't think they have many representatives
I feel like as soon as
conservative news.
Jen Psaki got like removed, now Peter is like, this is my moment.
Well, he was doing it with her too. He caught her on a bunch of stuff. Like he caught on her on, like when they were talking about illegal aliens getting into this country.
Yeah.
Are you going to give them money? Like Like the whole thing is trying. I mean, the White House press secretary's relationship with the reporters. The whole thing is just trying to manipulate the view the American public has of each individual problem.
Right. Like they're saying, if this is coming out of my mouth, right? Like Biden's saying, this is coming out of my mouth, and we all just have to believe it because you're the president. And he gets all upset and rages on his, he's like, I am sick of these lies. And you're like, you're the one.
He's out of his mind.
Oh, my word.
He's sad. You're watching a guy that shouldn't be in that position. It's not fair to let him be in that spot. Like, because he's compromised mentally. There's something wrong.
Well, he's been compromised more than that.
But there's that. There's that. But I mean, his mind's not functioning correctly.
No, yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And so it's sad because it's just like giving everybody an opportunity to dunk on. And me as a comedian, I kind of feel bad. It's like
I thought you didn't feel bad.
Dunking on him. It's like it's so easy. It's like punching a blind guy. It's like.
Well, if that blind guy is selling out your country to other countries, then you
Yeah.
better be punching that punching the fuck out of him.
There's a lot of that too. But my point is, it's like it's very hard for us to have reasonable, intelligent dialogues with each other when our representatives don't seem reasonable or intelligent.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's hard.
It's going to be really awful and really funny and maybe comedic. Is you're going to get a bunch of celebrities who are just like, vote Biden, we're taking off their clothes, vote Biden. They're going to eventually in 5 years, they were going to be the ones, saying that, telling stories, Hollywood movies about this time. I feel like, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, hopefully sooner, people are going to tell stories about what really happened during this time.
They're going to try to gaslight us. They're not going to be able to because of the internet, because there's enough independent news sources. Whether it's Breaking Points or Kyle Kulinski or Glenn Greenwald or Sam Harris or Brett Weinstein or, this podcast or whoever I get on, they're not going to be able to gaslight us, but they're going to try to. They're going to try to.
These documentaries, look at the Vietnam documentaries on Netflix that come out. Eventually, you got to kind of eventually these stories come out, and
she compared COVID to Vietnam. Cancel her again.
Just keep me canceled.
Don't you know 60,000 Americans died of Vietnam?
just you know what? Keep me canceled for a good couple of years. It's just I don't want to be uncanceled at this point.
You might be right though. You might be right. They might come out with a documentary that shows all the fuckery once Fauci's dead. Mm-hmm. He's 80. He's probably not going to live that much longer.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they'll like go into depth the same way they went into depth with the cigarette companies when they did that document or that film, The Insider, with Russell Crowe.
I have to write that down.
Fucking wild movie where you find out what was really involved in cigarettes. And he was it's based on a true story. He's a scientist that worked with the cigarette companies to engineer the chemicals in cigarettes to make them more addictive. Mm-hmm. And he lays it out in court exactly how it was done. Meanwhile, these guys were testifying that cigarettes were neither addictive nor dangerous when they knew they were causing cancer. Way back in the fucking 50s, they knew they were causing cancer.
And this is what the problem is. There's plenty of movies out there. What are some other movies? Radium Girls. Dallas Buyers Club.
Yes.
That Dr. Fauci's directly involved with that story.
Yes.
And you've got these people playing these characters involved in these movies, and you're like, and you don't see any of the...
They don't want to see it in front of their face because people want to be able to sleep at night, and the way you sleep at night is by putting blinders on and pretending that we're all on the right road. And when you're involved in a rigid ideology with left-wing progressive Hollywood, most certainly is. Left-wing progressive Hollywood is a very rigid ideology that's not well-informed oftentimes. You have a few well-informed ones, but there's a lot of these people that are just going with the fucking flow of the river. Mm-hmm. And with those people, it takes a long time for them to get weeded out, for them to crash into the rocks, for them to die, for them to move on. That's what it is. And then new people come along.
Go over the waterfall.
They can look at the sins of the past and they go, hey, back in 2020, this is why they were lying about the Pfizer reports. This is why they were trying to hide the data. This is why the VAERS report is ineffective. This is why they were trying to influence doctors to not report things. This is why they were trying to do this. This is why they were trying to demonize alternative medicines. This is why they were trying to do that. It's a profit thing.
So, but accessing information and the amount of people that are going to keep on being frustrated and keep on... I feel like more and more people will start speaking out and be so, like you said, they're going to be so frustrated by this administration by the time it's done. I feel like and how, you know, how much, this has been a movement, you know, like there's like other streaming services, the Daily Wire, but there's more like the Babylon Bee, but 5 years from now, those are going to be big companies.
The Babylon Bee out onion the onion.
Amazing.
They're fucking so funny. They're so consistently funny because the funniest shit right now is woke shit.
Yeah.
And that's the shit that people on the left can't touch. So as a comic, you're left without ammunition. All the woke comics are fucking terrible.
I know.
They're terrible. And that's why the funniest parody comedy now is coming out of the Babylon Bee.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is poking fun at this most obvious, ridiculous shit.
The truth is funny.
It's truth.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's like, it's the one thing you're not allowed to touch. So they're running rampant if it wasn't for the Babylon Bee. So what happens? The Babylon Bee gets kicked off of Twitter, which is crazy.
They're taking a stand too. They could take down that post and they could be back on.
Oh
but
my God.
I do feel like we're
mind-blowing.
We just got to keep wiggling free. We just got to keep on making art. And unfortunately, we're at this time in life as artists, you know, but also fortunately, right? Because we can be at the start of something really great that's going to make, you know, your kids, I don't have any, but my nieces, make it a
Are
better.
you going to have some? You and Kevin have cute kids.
Oh,
No, you don't want any?
I'm getting elderly now.
You maybe got a year left.
I looked at everybody while they were in like quarantine and I was like, okay, that does not look fun. Like, I just.
You mean trapped with kids?
No, it just doesn't.
It's just not for you.
I don't know.
It doesn't have to be for you. I'm not trying to pressure you into having kids.
I mean, I feel like there's going to be a lot of kids that need adopting.
That's true, too.
And
Yeah.
I'm very, like, my heart would be so grateful to do that. But I do.
That's beautiful.
I got a little bit of a young spirit. I want to travel still. I haven't reached where I want to be in creating art and doing stuff like that. And I also think I'd just be a crazy person. Like, I mean, if the world keeps going in this direction, I'll be in prison if I had kids. You know what I mean? My heart would just, I can't imagine how much your heart breaks thinking about the world that you're not going to be able to control once your kids are older.
But no one ever is able to control the world.
I know myself.
This is a thing that you have when people say, "Oh, I would never want to have kids today." I'm like, "Oh yeah, why would you with all the books and medicine and shit?" We're here because people fucked before they had doors.
Yeah.
Okay? They made children when we had no rules or laws or languages, and that led to us living today.
But look,
you're not going to be able to control the world.
I'm just knowing myself and how emotionally sensitive I can be. I think that it petrifies, because I know what it is, love. I know what loving your child is, and I think that it's just, for me, that's the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah, but it also makes you more understanding and kind, and it matures you.
I'm pretty damn understanding and kind, so I need to have children for that.
But no, I mean, it's a different thing. It changes. You should not have children if you don't have children.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should, but it changes people. And I think for a lot of people, it changes people for the better. But listen, nothing is guaranteed. Some people, it changes them for the worse. Some people get crazy. Look, you can't ever know what the fuck is going to happen when you overcome.
You can't be afraid of it. But I'm just.
Then don't.
Well, and I really want to do art, and I want to tell stories, and I want to keep doing what I'm doing, you know?
Good.
So until it's like, let's put a baby in there, then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, or let's get a baby, because there's so many children that could need that.
That's beautiful. So
I definitely will. I think it's going to be more on adoption, is what I'm saying.
Good. Do that. I think
so there won't be any more. There won't be more little troublemakers in life that came out of me.
Well, there still will be troublemakers.
You have a couple.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I guarantee
is
you.
Is the middle child the troublemaker? Because I'm a middle child, and
yes, my middle child is the wildest one.
Here we are.
Yeah, but it's you learn. I have a friend who's a yoga instructor, and he said that he had children literally on purpose to educate himself. And he said, but he's a great dad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he said, I wanted to know, I wanted to educate myself through the development of other human beings. He goes, I really thought about it that way. I was like, wow. And he goes, yeah, I did it in many ways out of love, because we wanted children. You know, my wife and I talked about this, but also I thought it'd be a great way to learn.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt that it's got to be the most powerful thing you could ever do.
It changed me.
Yeah.
It changed everything I think about life, because it changed the way I think about human beings, because I used to think of human beings as being a static thing, Like today was the first day I've met you physically. And I would think of, if I never knew of you, because I did obviously know of you, I would think of you as you now. And I don't think of anybody as, I think of them as babies that grew up, because I've been with babies that are now people.
Right,
and I've watched like life experiences and education and just all these different environments form and shape their view of the world and their personality. That's what I think of people now.
That's
So when
awesome.
I see people that are fucked up and even mean people and bitchy people, I feel sad, because I say, well, that's a broken baby. That's what
Yeah.
that is.
I always look at people I don't really like, and I try to imagine them in their kitchen with a dog. And if I don't feel bad for that dog, then I'm like, okay, they can have a little leniency. But if I feel bad for that dog, then I'm like, fuck that person.
Well, some people need enemies, right? And they create enemies that maybe they don't even have to create because of their unreasonable stance on things, the way they talk to
I
people.
really do think I'm like, okay, this person got to, maybe she's a producer and, she's been through like a really hard history, and I try to like look at things reasonably. I'm not just instantly hating people. I don't do that. When I meet people, then that's when I'm like, okay, I understand this person a little bit more. But I don't go off of hearsay. I don't go off of anything. So
Good.
yeah.
We should all be more like that.
Yeah.
Gina Carano, it's been a fucking good time.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a good time. I'm glad I got to meet you. I've always been a fan of you as a fighter and as a person, and you are exactly how I thought you'd be.
Oh, thank you.
So you're going to be fine. It's all going to work out.
I believe that. And thank you.
So all you haters, go eat shit. She's better and stronger because of all this.
And thank you. Thank you for being
My pleasure.
Such a light, such a person that's going to, I think one day they'll be making a movie off of you.
Don't. They'll fuck it up. All right.
Who would play you, though? Who would play you?
Mario Lopez. Bye, everybody.